All right. I need to clean these other glasses. Yo, what's up, Smelly? How's it going, Doc? How you doing? Uh, what's the big day today? What's going on? Three shows back to back to back. Oh yeah, we're talking Alex Jones, what, Bradley Martin, and what's the third? It's the other one. What's the name of that? What is it? Yo, what's up, SSB? How's it going, dog? What's the one? What's the other one? All right. Small, I got flamed. Yeah, it's uh oh wait, Tommy G. Trump gives no shits. I've been kind of unplugged the past few days. I haven't really been feeling well. I haven't really been feeling great. So I'm behind. I gotta catch up on a lot of shit. Um, I don't know. Like, what should we react to something today? What do you guys? I was planning on watching the Alex Jones Nick collab. Um, I feel like that's always good content. You know, that's always fun. That's always a fun watch. Yeah, I know. Uh, but yeah, I I love that. I say like, yeah, I'm gonna stream more. End up streaming less. I end up streaming less. Yeah, it's time to lock in. End up locking out. Totally locking out. Fell off. Washed. L rip bozo. Yeah, it's fuck. Yeah. Just gotta lock in. I just gotta lock. It's like that. What is that? What is that? Just gotta lock in. Like, this is literally me. This is literally me. I just need to lock in. I just need to lock in. I just gotta lock in. I just gotta lock in. I just gotta lock. I keep telling myself, I just gotta lock in. Ah, fuck, man. Anyway, fuck. Anyway, close up all these extra tabs I don't need to open. Um, let's take a look. Trump sent ICE to Minnesota and they are panicking. Mayor of Minneapolis held a press conference over this. Trump fired back calling Somalians garbage. I yeah, to be honest, this really doesn't do anything for me. Um I think Nick summed it up pretty well last night. And um yeah, I think it was spot on. It's how I think most of us are feeling. Red meat, waiter, more please. Red meat, what? Um it's just like, look, Trump knows what we want. His whole cabinet knows what we want. And every time he gets in trouble, he'll make some big public display to try and win back the base. Oh, that's so based. He's so based. Look, he's calling for a total immigration moratorium on third world countries. Does that include India, Mr. President? Does that include India? Like, I'm over it. You know, I'm over it. Do more. It's not enough that you just, because that's all it is. It's just a big optics war. It's a big optics war. And when you peel back the curtain, you realize nothing is actually being done. It's just the same shit. There's no large comprehensive overhaul to immigration that's actually being implemented. It's just, let's just make more based edits. Make more based edits. I have an idea. Let's put a sun and rad in this edit. That'll win over all these base chuds. Ah, dude. Is it not exhausting just being pandered to like this? Is it not just like insulting? You know what it's like? Not to be gay, but I don't know if you ever watched Black Mirror, but there's like in like I've only watched a few episodes of the first season, but it's like in that what was the one? Fuck, hang on. Oh, which one is it? Yeah, 15 million merits, where essentially they live in these boxes. You exercise all day for merits, and you can use those merits to buy stuff. One of the guys cracks eventually, and he goes on one of these shows, and in like this big display of defiance, he's like holding up a shard of glass to his throat, threatening to kill himself, talking about how the system is so fucked up, making people live in boxes, and turning all these women to like pornography and stuff for merits to make money. Very like on the nose statement. Well, that little escapade he did, people loved it. People loved it, and they treated it like entertainment. He was being genuine at the time, but they caught on to that. Like the people running the show caught on to that. And like, you know what? We'll offer you your own show. And every week he goes on and he does the same thing, like this deranged lunatic. So what was once genuine turns into another charade, a facade that people tune into every week for entertainment. The point is, it's just an illusion. This illusion of defiance, this illusion of actually doing something turned into a grift. I know it's probably like something everyone's aware of at this point. Just reminded me of that. Anyway. Oh, that's what you mean by the... Oh, yeah, the red meat, yeah. Did you see the new Bradley Martin interview with Nick? Not yet. Not yet. There's like... How many hours of content dropped today? And then he's going on Crowder on Thursday. Here's Morgan, I think. What do you say, Monday? So, his GF turned into an OF girl. Yeah. I don't even think they were like... I don't even know if it was his GF. It was his love interest. Of course, there was race mixing, but, that's beside the point. Anyway, Trump fed us some red meat, just rhetoric, not policy. Yeah, dude, it's like, I don't know, man. If you're still on board the Trump train, it's just the factory cannot keep up with all the demand for the Fell For It Again awards. It's actually crazy. I don't know how many times people can fall for it before it's just like, I don't know, dude. It's sad. It's honestly sad. We demand better. We demand more. That's why at this point, dude, I'm very much against Trump. Really, at this point, on principle. Yeah, I know it's politics, and sometimes you got to play the game. You have to use people to get something out of them. Like, you don't have to be fully aligned with the people you do business with or align with in politics. It's like, as long as you're sort of moving the ball forward, you're making plays. There are alliances that you make. That doesn't mean they're ride or die alliances. For example, MTG, somebody that, I've been critical of, everyone's been critical of. Nick, AF, have all been critical of MTG. She could have been useful if she didn't bitch out. You know what I'm saying? She could have been a useful tool to move the needle, to sort of redefine the battle lines in the GOP. The new MAGA caucus, which is now the America First, would be one that is critical of Israel. And, don't get me wrong, she's a grifter, but she could have been a useful grifter. But, at least for the time being. But alas, she was not cut out for it. Surprise, surprise. That's like Michael Savage or Rush Limbaugh. We talking what with what? What sounds like Michael Savage or Rush Limbaugh? Um. Anyway, what was I talking about? I just lost my train of thought. Um. Right, MTG. But that's why we need diehard loyalists. We need people who totally believe in the mission, you know? They're not there for clout, they're not there for personal prestige. They're not there to make a buck, but they believe in something greater. I know it sounds kind of cheesy. Oh, controlled opposition. I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, I mean, Michael Savage is just controlled opposition. He's opposition. It's like Ben Shapiro. It's just another angry Jew screaming into his microphone. Yeah. Yeah, we need more of those, right? But yeah. Um yeah, we just need diehard loyalists. That's pretty much it. People who believe in the country, believe in their people, believe in the mission, believe in Christ. That's a big one too. Um because like for example, like this sort of like tentative Muslim Christian, I don't know if I'd call it a ceasefire, or rather, I don't know if I call it an alliance. I call it more of like a ceasefire. Um, Choosing a more proximate, pressing political adversary in the Jewish cabal over one another. Like that's one that really you take it. You can't necessarily take that to its conclusion. Like you can't take that alliance and expect that to last forever. Because they are just so competing, you know, the two religions, and like practically speaking, it'd be very difficult to have a society that has a significant portion of one of the other. Like if a majority Christian country has a large or growing Muslim minority, or vice versa, that's going to create conflict eventually. It's a big part of what's going on in Sudan right now is these ethnic, not just ethnic, but religious rivalries that have that are sort of being, I don't want to say exploited, but because they exist, but they're certainly being leaned on by certain political factions. Many of them are like foreign money coming in trying to jockey for power, chicken jockey in Sudan over their gold and oil resources, and that's caused this civil war to erupt. And so it's often like those differences in the population can be exploited for political gain. It's a matter of opportunity. So the ethnic and religious problems will always exist, but they can be heightened for opportunistic reasons. Mellow's girl Greta didn't. Okay, that's crazy. Shapiro's uncle lost 400 of enriched 400. Oh, is that supposed to be pounds of enriched uranium? Did you hear about that one? I did not hear about that one. I did not. Shapiro's uncle, huh? What is that in Western Africa or something? I wonder what a turbo Zionist Jew would want to do with a bunch of enriched uranium. But do tell me more about that. I did not hear about. Like I said, I've been pretty unplugged for the past few days. Not gonna lie, it's yeah. I just gotta lock back. I just gotta lock back in. I just gotta lock back in. I just gotta lock back in. I just gotta lock in. I just gotta lock in. I just have to lock in. I just need to lock in. I just need to lock in. I just need to lock in. Anyway. Yeah, under the weather. So trying to lock back in here. You got sick? Yeah. It's that time of year. So anyway. So what are we thinking? Today? I was gonna react to this. If you guys haven't already seen it, I haven't seen it yet. The collab, the Nick AJ collab. But you know, Bradley Martin and Tommy G also dropped today. So oh, the 1965 New Mecca. Wait, is that what I'm thinking of? Is that what I'm thinking of? Is that Shapiro's? Oh, it was Pennsylvania. That was I didn't know that was Ben Shapiro's uncle. Oh shit. Well, there was another fuck, I can't remember. They were transporting I think it was enriched uranium. Could have been plutonium. But they were going from, I think it was some Nordic country. This is not fresh in my memory. And it was, I forget exactly where it was originally going to go. But they lost contact with the ship in the Mediterranean. And who knows what happened to those nuclear materials. I think we know exactly. It was some kind of setup, planned interception. Seems to happen a lot, huh? I'm sure somebody could chat GPT that for me. Is Crowder tomorrow? I thought it was Thursday. The Plumbat affair, 1968. Yeah. That's likely where those two affairs are likely where they got a bulk of their nuclear material. Yeah, really awesome stuff. All right.
The government fears Alex Jones, who has the largest audience in the country, bigger than any of the networks, the biggest megaphone in the country.
The deep state hates Alex Jones with a vengeance.
Alex Jones is the most
This must be from yesterday or something.
Coming out and doing
the bigger issue.
Comedian in the United States.
I'm gonna do that.
Always stock notices we were going live. He was talking about how great the economy went and say under parents calling about
Somali community for fraud and crimes.
They're both 40.
It's a Chinese and an
there we go.
To get it. So
it's not gonna work. Negative.
Ads like this, don't we? And now the bad guys.
And all the thugs and all the bullies who thought have. By the way, did that, and he's
all right.
More like I'm George Washington, and he's Andrew Jackson. It's just a generational thing. And Nick is having a generational run. It's true. I met Nick over 9-10 years ago. Thought he was very intelligent, very smart. Wasn't as, quote, radical as he is now. And his story, you know, is now well known, the origin story, the rest of it. But as I've said a million times, I got attacked for having him on. The left, the Democrats, the ADL, all of them literally say Christians, Catholics, white people are the devil. And we need to be eradicated. Even Elon Musk posted a video the other day showing hundreds of headlines saying abolish whites, we're the devil. we're the demons. So you can't point your finger at Nick Fuentes.
You say Elon Musk?
The devil. Can't. Even Elon Musk posted a video the other day showing hundreds of headlines saying abolish whites, we're the devil.
Speaking of Elon Musk, real quick, I guess I wanted to react to this. So Elon Musk has been talking like, this is like, okay. This is particularly aggravating when Elon Musk simultaneously, like, once again, throwing red meat, pandering to white identitarian. Now he's starting to, repost, the declining white birth rate compared to all the non-whites in the world. Meanwhile, his companies are importing thousands upon thousands of H-1Bs. Saying that, like, so let me get this straight. So, like, here's part of the problem. Elon Musk is in a position of substantial power and authority. There is a lot Elon himself can do as one of the richest and most influential men in the world to help solve this problem. But, like, the moment you start advocating for anything like, anything real, anything tangible, all of a sudden it becomes, well, you see what it becomes. A year ago when he said that anybody who is like against H-1Bs could go fuck themselves in the face, and he wants to root that ideology out from the Republican Party root and stem. So, in reality, his actions do not line up with his Twitter posting. And that's where people need, I hope people understand this by now, but posting shit on Twitter is not actually doing anything. It's not real. It makes you feel like you're doing something. It feels good. But the amount of impact you have is very limited when you compare it to somebody like what Elon Musk could do. He put up hundreds of millions of dollars into the election cycle. What if he doubled that? What if he tripled that and made it demanding a much more nationalist platform? Imagine if he went, what is it? If you went like, bag for bag with Miriam Adelson and actually got like diehard nationalists. So that's how you just can't trust this guy. You can't. And it's the same thing. He's trying the same thing in the UK. He's pandering to like the most nationalist, most like, I guess you could say like racist elements of UK politics and European politics, talking about like the grooming gangs, the Muslim grooming gangs and whatnot in the UK and other parts of Europe, and the rise of like immigrant violence and whatnot. But again, it's like all of that really is it's a vessel. It's a tool for him to get into the good graces of, frankly, people that really ought to be the most critical of Elon. Like, nationalists should be critical of Elon. We should look at somebody like Elon Musk with suspicion. I mean, just think about this guy on paper. The kind of stuff he talks about, he's talking about, I mean, take Alex Jones, for example. He warns so much about the global government, globalists, the technocratic elite, these transhumanists. It's like, what do you think Elon Musk is? He's a technocratic globalist elite that wants to usher in this age of transhumanism with things like Neuralink. He's a big proponent for AI. He's talking about how money won't matter in the future. Doesn't that sound like something like a board member of the World Economic Forum would be saying? And it's not the globalists, right? But there's layers to this. So you should look at somebody like, with Elon with suspicion. And just because he's reposting shit like this, doesn't mean he's on your side. Because his actions don't line up with his base Twitter posting. It really makes you wonder. Yeah, I was about to get to this next comment. Jews are white, if not peak white. And I know for a fact, okay? I know for a fucking fact, Elon has been educated on this several times. Because I've seen this kind of post come from Elon several times, and he gets corrected, he gets ratioed, every single time, whether it's from some kind of like white nationalist guy or whether it's from a Jew themselves. Jews tell you what they consider themselves. And it goes back to like,
just like a good restaurant was.
Ah, fuck, I lost my spot in the shit. Why did it do that? Oh, I'll have to scrub. It goes back to like, I think actually Nick reposted it today. This clip where it, in a certain sense, it doesn't matter what you label them as. What matters is how they label themselves, because there's in-group preference. That's what matters far more. You might think it's innocuous. You might think, yeah, they're white. They look white. They blend in. Yeah, but to them, it matters a lot more. Their ethnic identity. So this woman doesn't, she struggles to understand this. When Ben Shapiro's literally telling her exactly how they think and operate.
I mean, but whether Jews count as white or not has been sort of an object of debate for quite a while. We do. Okay.
You do.
So, I mean, it depends according to whom. And that's a pretty recent development. Okay, so.
Basically everyone. It's a religion.
It's
So this like dingbat, first of all, she doesn't understand Judaism. Okay, she doesn't know that it's an ethno-religion. She's ignorant of that fact. But she's viewing it through like, this is how psyop these people are. Like, this is like Jewish propaganda that's been like implanted in her brain, and she will never fucking understand that. A lot of people operate on this worldview. Oh, they look white. They blend in. It doesn't, like, they have been indoctrinated with the anti-white propaganda. At the same time, they've been sort of indoctrinated with like this melting pot analogy. So much so, like, they think that Jewish people are just kind of like this other ethnicity or like within the overall white race, like British or Germans or French, Jews. They don't understand the long history. First of all, they don't understand where that idea came from. They don't understand the long history between Jews and non-Jews, specifically Europeans. They're ignorant of that. And so, like, it's like, Ben Shapiro, and he, frankly, is being honest here, is trying to convey the message to this woman that is just not, she's just not picking it up.
Do you not agree that you are a white man?
I mean, I think that it depends on the context in which you're discussing it.
So what are you, Ben? Are you not a white guy?
I mean, I'm a...
And I guess she thinks it's some kind of like gotcha question. I mean, it kind of is, in a sense. But the obvious rebuttal Nick or Ben Shapiro would say would be, well, the Holocaust. We're white here according to you, but according to white people, we're not white. Right? That's what he would most likely say. He might even bring this up after the clip, if I remember correctly. So it depends on the context.
Man of Jewish ethnicity, which is sometimes grouped with white and sometimes not. I mean, that's the more accurate way to put it. But when we're talking about
grouped
with Jews.
And so they're trying to ride this fine line where they simultaneously want to create the impetus for this multicultural society, claiming that white ethno-nationalism is bad, or really kind of any ethno-nationalism is bad, that it's better that we build our society off of ideas. Multiculturalism is okay as long as we all agree on some things, right? At the same time, they need to maintain their victim narrative because it's been politically expedient for them to paint white ethno-nationalism as the boogeyman. But they understand that, like, look, they're chameleons and they pass as white in many instances. They try to pass as white in many instances when it's convenient to convince other white people to buy into this. And so somebody like this woman doesn't really understand that. Simultaneously, they also need to maintain their victim status. So they can't be they can't be put onto them now. They can't be inspected. They can't be ridiculed for their ethno-narcissism or nepotism or whatever because of the Holocaust. So it's okay if they do it because these evil whites persecuted them in the 30s, in the 1930s. That's the overall justification. So that's why when he says it depends, really, like, you should just reject that wholesale. Like, that's bullshit. Like, you are what you are and you can't change that. You can't, like, flip-flop code. And look, people do that. But the idea that you're simultaneously going to play both sides like that, you have to reject that wholesale. Like, you're either white or you're not. You can't, like, pick one. Assimilate or don't assimilate. Otherwise, you can clearly see how there's an ulterior motive here. Because people from all over Western Europe assimilated no problem. Maybe it took a few decades, but Italians came here, the Englishmen came here, the Irish came here, Scots, Germans, French, the Dutch, the Polish, and for the most part, within a generation, 2 generations, 3 generations, it's just white. There's this new sort of American white ethnicity. That's sort of this new white culture, and a big part of being American is embracing that culture. It's fine to be proud of where you came from. Like, it's great that, you're Polish, you love your pierogi, you reminisce on that, but it's like, what matters first and foremost is that you're American. That's what you care most about. And everything else is doesn't come close. Elon is a synth. He glitches sometimes, controlled op. Yeah, Elon he's in total pursuit of his own interests. Total pursuit.
Or which is an ethnicity. I mean,
so you're not white at all.
I mean, again, it depends who's doing the grouping and how. I've seen Jews grouped with white and Jews grouped with not white. Are we just pretending that doesn't exist?
45 of them?
So it's like Shapiro is like, he can't give away the game. You know what I'm saying? He can't quite give up the game and say that it's politically and socially expedient for them to play both sides. That's why he's it looks like he's waffling a little bit. But what he's saying is not necessarily false. It does depend on like the context, and that should alarm you. That should alarm everybody. White people don't get that same benefit. You don't get to pick and choose. Oh, today I'm white and tomorrow I'm not white or whatever. It's you're under this umbrella. Anyway. So going back to Elon Musk, this guy clearly, he highlights Jews don't see themselves that way. They're the chosen ones above all races. Could do a little bit better, but gets the point across. And he says, skin tone is obvious to anyone who isn't blind. Overwhelmingly, the vast majority of Jewish people look white. That's just a fact. As for whether there is an actual underlying genetic difference, which ACTG sequences are the Jewish ones and why, does anyone actually know? Okay, so he's hoping that he can sprinkle in a little bit of technical language to throw people off. Which DNA sequence in the double helix are Jewish? And it's like, well, actually, if you look at genealogy, you would know. You could see these specific Jewish clusters, and they're unique, they're distinct, and they're dissimilar from Europeans. They exist in their own bubble. They exist in their own clusters. If Europeans are over here, right, and Jews are over here, the closest you would get would be Sephardic Jews and Southern Italians, Sicilians. That's as close as you're going to get, but they're still distinct from one another. So, this idea that you need to highlight exactly, if you don't know which genetic sequences are Jewish and not, then you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, Mr. Musk. It's what's the difference between a Nigerian and an Indian? They have the same skin tone. And obviously people are ratioing him. Is this Asian woman who probably has a filter on, to be fair, maybe some makeup, whatever. But does this because she looks white, or rather she has white skin and dyed her hair blonde, does that make her white? You fucking idiot. And so it's is Elon Musk stupid? I don't think so. I think he's being obtuse. Because at this point, if you don't get it, how can one of the richest guys in the world not get it? Right? This guy who's supposedly an autodidact, went to an Ivy League school, a rocket engineer, gigabrain. How can he not understand something so basic? It's almost like there's more to skin tone than, that makes up your race. Look at facial features. Jews have distinct features that are different from white people, for the most part. They have different proportions. obviously the easiest one is the nose. You could look at the eye placement, the distance between the eyes. They tend to have like closer eyes. You know, oftentimes the ear sits below the eye line. The forehead, you know, the head shape is a little more slanted. So their foreheads, their jaw is protrudes in front of their forehead. And they have like, again, they have the lower and angled ear placement that falls below there. And these are just a few. These are just a few things that like that you can identify that are common appearances, a common attributes of Jewish people, just to name a few. Mentally, people can define themselves however they want, but that doesn't change how the rest of the world views them. And this is, herein lies the problem. It's like, yeah, okay, but them defining how they operate, who they are, what their identity is, and who isn't among them, that actually matters when they're a very tightly knit, very cohesive group of people. So acting like it doesn't matter because the rest of the world will define them as such. Okay, yeah, but when they have a clear distinction, when they have a clear definition of what it means to be Jewish, and there are consequences for that, and that they operate off of those distinctions, that matters. That actually matters. Because they get into positions of power and they do things that help out Jews. So how they classify themselves versus others actually matters. This idea that you're just going to hand wave that away, well, if everyone else, you know, disagrees with them, then they're wrong. Like, okay, yeah, but you're missing the point, because how they function based off of this description, that matters actually, because they operate on these principles. You know what it's like? It's like telling liberals their worldview because they're wrong doesn't matter. It's like, okay, but they still operate off of that worldview. You could tell liberals all day, you know, you're not gonna teach a 60 IQ sub-Saharan how to read or become like whatever. Okay, but they're still operating on that ideology that it's possible. This egalitarian ideology that's fueling a lot of this immigration. A lot of liberals truly believe that. So it's like you can't really smugly dismiss what these people think, what your opposition thinks, because there are real consequences for that, for how they think and what they believe. So to just say that everyone disagrees with them, that's not really sufficient in and of itself. Ohio, what's up, Kumquat? That bald guy did a third. Dear Goipers, give it a break, dog. I don't even bother, bro. It looks like he's about to cry every time he makes it. Who cares? I'll pull up a picture of the tribe and compare it. I mean, yeah, I probably have it bookmarked somewhere, but I could try to find it to show you exactly what I mean. Do a little physiognomy check. And once you start noticing this stuff, it's like, you can, it's like level 1 noticing, right? But there's a couple ones that I think this is kind of a good example. This is pretty. Like you can see the difference in jaw versus forehead. Obviously the nose. It's never a perfect 1-to-1. Like it's usually, because like this kid has, his ear is above his eye line, but there are many Jews where it lies below. That is a common facial feature. Another, like, these are just things you'll pick up on. Like, What is that guy's? What's that liberal's name? Packman, right? Right? Yeah, David Packman. Look at the eyes. Look at the eye placement. This is a good way to tell. Like kind of narrow. Same thing with what's that one actor's name who played Hellboy? He sort of has a similar eye placement. We're 1 minute into the video. Yeah. Alex Jones mentions Elon Musk once. Now here we are. We're. Let me measure your skull shape real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull out my tape measure. Let me just measure your nose. Let me measure the distance between your deine Augen. Okay. Yeah. So good. Yeah. Now we're measuring skulls and noses. Right. Ronald Perlman. Yeah. He kind of has a similar thing going on in the eyes. So anyway, so this sort of dismissive attitude is just like, I refuse to believe that Elon doesn't understand exactly what is being said here. It's like, what are like the conclusions you can draw here? Either like let's just like I guess there are like 3 potential reasons for this. One, he truly is just ignorant on this topic. I have a hard time believing that, considering like it's all over Twitter, which is a platform he owns and is on constantly all day, and he engages with people constantly. So he's been corrected on this matter several times. He's been ratioed on this matter several times by both, and like this is coming from both sides. Jews are saying, yeah, we're not white. They're not even class. So it's just simply saying, can you tell the ACTG difference between a Jew and a non-Jew? It's like, well, can you tell the difference between like an Englishman and a Scotsman, or an Englishman and a German? I think you can. I don't think you need to go into the DNA to really delineate. Like, come on, man. Dude, it's just like, look, it matters. It actually matters. And it is a source of conflict. Look at Pakistan and India. Now, as far as their DNA is concerned, they are very similar to one another. Very. Most people in the West will just be like, you guys are the same. But they're like, no, those dirty Pakistanis, let me tell you something, sir. These dirty Pakistanis are going to ruin India. And the Pakistanis are saying the same thing about these, the dirty Indians, they shit in the streets. And they're like, it's like Spider-Man pointing at himself. It's like that meme. So actually, I think it does matter how people categorize themselves. I actually think it does matter quite a bit, quite frankly. So, and yeah, if you look at their DNA, it's very similar. They're distinct, but they're very similar, I'm sure. There's a lot of overlap between the Pakistanis and Indians. So this is just like misdirection. It feels like damage control. The vast majority of the world views Jews as being white, especially Ashkenazi Jews. When the left talks about fight whiteness, they include Jews in that. Problems with that, though. First of all, a lot of the fight whiteness is obviously being run by Jews. And it is a bit of a golem for the Jews, because they have created this problem for themselves. We do have a lot of these like woke liberals that operate on this paradigm. Like that woman that was berating Ben Shapiro that can't tell the difference. So they're kind of realizing that. They're like, shit, you know what? These idiots really don't understand the difference. You know? They really don't. They've sort of created a problem for themselves, because now they've sort of categorized themselves as white, and they're trying to tell the fucking retarded golem, no, we're not white, we're Jewish. And you've got these like mouth breathing retards. But you're white though. You have these like liberals that refuse to like look. Liberals, you talk about out of touch with reality. Like they think you can transition kids and shit. They think that like transgenderism is like a legitimate thing. Like, yeah, good luck trying to educate them on the distinction between like, and educate them on this the very fine and specific distinction between Jews and Europeans. Good luck on that. Like they're not operating on that frequency. And so they have created this problem for themselves. But anyway, like, are we really going to pretend like Jews haven't made up a bulk of this anti-white resentment? Chihuahua is a dog, and a pit bull is also a dog. Yeah. Pit bull, German Shepherd, Chihuahua, Husky, all these different dog types, right? That are very different from one another. Why do Muslims marry their cousins? Marrying your own blood is insane. You're asking for lineage death. Well, it's just like Hindus do it too. Indians. In the southeast part of India, the rate of second cousin marriages is like 25% of marriages. It's fucking insane. 25% of marriages are between second cousins or closer. That's insane. So this idea that white people are like these like bumpkin whites from Alabama are like the like worst offenders when we think of incest. Totally not true. I mean, it's probably higher than the rest of the European population, these Sweet Home Alabama types, but it's definitely not not even in the same ballpark as these other countries. But I don't know, maybe it might be an IQ thing, honestly. It might just be an IQ thing. I don't know. IQ and cultural. I don't know. Do you see a lot of that in like Africa? I don't know. Like, do you see a lot of incest in Africa? Because I'm fairly sure it's higher in India than Africa, but the Habsburgs were the worst offenders of cousin marriage. Well, yeah, I mean, but that's also very like specific. But like when you talk about like royalty, we're talking about a population here. It's obviously when we get to royalty, you're going to see some of that, quite a bit of that. Throughout history, trying to keep the bloodlines pure and all that, but so it's one thing if a small subset of your population is doing it, another if like large portions of the general public are doing it. That's a good way to make your population retarded and dysfunctional. Check out the government clan, bunch of freaks out here. The government clan. Anyway. So, dude, it's like, yeah, here's another representation of what I was talking about earlier. Like, it's a clear genetic cluster. Some of these Jewish families have records of their lineage going back like thousands of years, unbroken, literally. Like, especially among like the more traditional conservative like the Hasidic Jews, they're very concerned about keeping the bloodlines pure. That's why you see higher rates of like genetic abnormalities because of inbreeding. It's true. They really do not want to mix with the goy. So, the Goller clan, bunch of freaks where you live. Goller auto-corrected. Where's that? Ancient Egypt had this phenomenon as well, and the pharaohs ended up having so many defects, ultimately leading to their collapse partly. Yeah, and this is where, and don't get me wrong, I'm not pushing for miscegenation or anything like that, but this is where an injection of genetic, dare I say, diversity is actually beneficial in a certain amount. So, and this just makes sense. You want you want to have genetic similarity with the person you're going to have kids with, but not too close, right? Obviously. I don't know exactly where that line exists before, when it stops being a problem, like how far down the family tree do you have to go? But, injecting in your family tree genetic diversity, at least to a certain degree, is a good thing. So in a sense, it's like a balancing act. You don't want to promote miscegnation to the point where your population loses its ethnic cohesion, where it can be exploited by, another subset, another ethnic clan that maintains their ethnic cohesion, such as the Jews. Because you also want to maintain that culture, right? You want to maintain that lineage that ties people to the soil that they're standing on. Very important, and it's something a lot of people take for granted nowadays. But like, for example, walking through a town or a city that your ancestors built, and like going through a museum and looking at conflicts and history that your ancestors partook in, it gives you this sense of belonging. It grounds you. It grounds you to the place, to the culture, to the nation. Defining the country not as just a place or necessarily as just like a society, but a nation of people. A breathing, living body of people that you are a part of, here, now, in time. And that's very important. So when you talk about defending your way of life, defending your people, it's important to have that grounding aspect, that anchor. And when you lose that, if you have a population that no longer feels that connection, those people are a lot easier to exploit. It's certainly a lot easier to turn them against their parents, to sort of weaponize them or utilize them for some kind of change, because they don't care as much about the history or the culture. And it's very difficult, I think, and now in this day and age, I think, to like really like instill this idea into people, especially people that are not mixed race. It's something they take for granted every day, and it's very difficult for them to, I think, really conceptualize what I'm talking about and the problems that arise from race mixing on a small scale and a large scale. On a small scale, you can have somewhat of a split household, right? Two different cultures, two different general behavioral patterns between the parents. But then your kids are going to be both, like, let's say you have somebody that's white and black, they're half and half. They're simultaneously white, but not white, simultaneously black, but not. So they sort of exist in this category, this category of their own. So for example, they go be among black people, they'll always be white skin. They'll always be a light skin, oh, you talk and dress white. If they go and try to hang out with their white friends, they'll always be the black guy.
40% off 2 of our best-selling products, Ultimate Fish Oil and Body.
This is just auto. We haven't even gotten, we're 1 minute into this video, dude. We're 1 minute into this video. We'll just come back to this. And so you often get people who feel kind of lost. They don't really have their people. They don't really have a sense of belonging, and they're sort of treated like as this anomaly. And, I think people that don't understand how that could make somebody feel, not to make it about feelings, but they might think that might be a cool thing or a unique thing, that you're sort of this unique special snowflake. But it's like, it makes it harder to relate with people in general, because you're both two things, but simultaneously neither of those things. And so that kind of experience, like a big part of our cohesion depends on empathy and understanding our neighbors and their perspective, being able to empathize with them, and sort of see ourselves in them. That's a big part. It's a lot easier to empathize with people who look like your brother or look like your cousin or whatever. And act like your family too, like an extension of your family. And so you quickly see how this ripple effect extends to your entire population of your society, where if you have a totally mixed population that has no real root to the country, that's split in 1,000 different ways, 1,000 different ethnicities or whatever, then you have people that don't really feel connected to one another. That can make it difficult to have any kind of like national identity to get shit done and to prevent conflict. Nova Scotia, that's where the Golar plan is. There's that clip of that rabbi explaining cultural genocide upon all nations with glee. Yeah, I mean, look, they talk about it as if it's a good thing, all this diversity, but it's like, why would you mix everything up, you lose diversity. I mean, it doesn't even make sense logically. If you take all of like Nigeria and mix it together with all of Sweden, then you lose both of those. And I know it's going one way, but you would lose both of those distinct cultures. So it doesn't even make sense. Like if you're trying to maintain the cultural distinctions. So Akhenaten was pretty odd looking. I don't know. Bro's too invested. Sorry, Alex. I dated a Jewish girl in high school. She had big old... Okay. Nice. Anyway. Yeah, so that's genetics and shit. Anyway, let's try to like react to this.
Well, our head bottled, and then
it's about
Israel. You know,
up your ass.
We're info and all the thugs.
So that's why, like, I just let me finish this point real quick. That's why I do question Elon's motives, because he's not stupid. The information's out there. He's been ratioed several times. So if there were three options, he's ignorant on the matter, he's not as smart as he says he is, or he's not being honest, right? He has an ulterior motive. I don't think he's ignorant, because he gets ratioed every time he talks about this. He's not as smart as he says he is. Maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe. But I think the most likely explanation is... Oh, and look, I think he's a smart guy. I mean, you have to be pretty smart to run all these companies. I know, like, people like to, call Elon stupid. I don't think he's stupid. I think the most likely explanation is he's not being honest. I think that's the most likely explanation. Hey, I'm on your side as he works to get more immigrant labor into the country. Hey, I'm just like you. We've got a big problem here, as he makes the problem worse. Girls hedging us with the Alex video. Okay, yeah. We need to just lock. I just need to lock in.
Thought they had this country on its knees and cowed are now just beginning to understand that they have awoken the terrible giant.
Elon went to a Jewish day school in South Africa. One does not simply enter a Jewish day school. Wasn't it Chuck Johnson that believes that Elon is Jewish, like his mother or grandmother is Jewish? In one of his schizo posts? Wasn't it Chuck Johnson? Possible.
By the way, I did not come up with me as Batman and
okay, all right. Yeah, we're playing the fucking video, all right?
I'm the boss.
Yeah, 1 hour later. 1 hour later, we're not even a fucking minute into the collab. I just have to lock in.
Did that. It's absolutely ridiculous.
His mother is a witch? You mean that in a literal sense? Like she's literally a witch?
More like I'm George Washington.
What's going on, Bolito?
Andrew Jackson. It's just a generational thing. And Nick is having a generational run. It's true. I met Nick over 9-10 years ago. Thought he was very intelligent, very smart. Wasn't as, quote, radical as he is now. And his story, is now well known, the origin story, the rest of it. But
pause the video right now and go on another 10-minute yap session just for the bit. What else do you platform on? Well, I'm also on Kick and YouTube. Yeah. So if you hear me reading chat that you can't see, I put it up on screen right here. But that's why. It's because I'm yapping to people on YouTube. One last thing on mixed race on race mixing. one last thing. Look, if you're race mixed, it's not the end of the world, obviously. I just you know, I would hope that people would have an appreciation for their heritage and their culture, and wouldn't want to and would want their kids to grow up with something similar. This sense of like pride and I guess belonging, having this history book that you could crack open, like the family portrait or whatever, go back 200 years and see a picture of like your great grandfather or something, and see him in yourself. There's a lot of value to that. All right, enough.
As I've said a million
let's
times,
just get it going.
The left, the Democrats, the ADL, all of them literally say Christians, Catholics, white people are the devil. We need to be eradicated. Even Elon Musk posted a video the other day showing hundreds of headlines saying abolish whites.
Ultimately, you belong to one side, in my opinion. Going back and forth between cultures and races leads to confusion and dysfunction. Seriously. And, you know, I'm thankful I haven't, you know, I'm mixed race. I never had to like deal with that in a big way. I think you can mitigate the problem, but you can't eliminate it. Like, you'll never truly eliminate that struggle that mixed race people tend to have. And for some people, it's really bad. And they grow up like resenting their parents and disavowing them, and end up pretty dysfunctional, because it's like, you know, you never find your people, so to speak. Whereas, like, look, if you're not mixed race, it's obvious what you are, you know? You don't have to deal with that struggle. So. And, you know, I've talked to, like, friends about this. You know, I have, like, friends that really want, like, an Asian wife or whatever, and it's like, you know, look, you got to think a generation down the line. You have to think of the consequences, like, and a lot of people don't realize necessarily, I don't want to call it a psyop, because look, there are appealing aspects to like every race, whatever. You know, you can find attractive Asian women, white women, you know, Latinas, so on and so forth. That's not really the problem, or that's not really I think you need to think less about what you want and more about what you think will be functional, what's best for your kids. And that's where I think people's imagination ends. I think for most people, it's like, dude, man, some Latina pussy would go hard. I'm gonna wife some Latina pussy. That sounds pretty good right now. They're not even thinking on that level, you know. They're not even thinking that far ahead. We'll solve the problem. It's like, it's not that simple, man. It is not that simple, I'm telling you. And mixed race marriages are also more prone to failure. Yeah. Yellow fever is temporary. Yeah, look, dude, I swear, you just see, I don't know what it is, man. It's like, some of like the Asian women that are like glamorized, I'm just like, dude, she's not even attractive like in her own country. I don't know what the fuck you see in this woman. Like, it's like blinders, man. It's like blinders. Oh, she's Thai? Oh, shit. Oh, she's Vietnamese? It's like people are willing to like go 3 points lower on the attractiveness scale if she's like exotic. It's like, do you have eyes, man? I don't understand it. Your great grandfather had it. You haven't succumbed to it yet. Gen Z recognizes race more than millennial. Millennials are all delusional, in your opinion. Yeah. Yeah, Gen Z is quite a bit more No!
Like, who's on these boards?
Why does it do that? Shit. Where were we?
Question, and
so the time we
okay, I think you're real.
Terrible giant.
You could consider me context. Oh shit. Speaking truth, man. People will say this is hateful. I don't think it's hateful at all. I think it's real. And look, as someone that's mixed race, I can tell you, like, yeah, our opinion matters.
By the way, I did not come up with me as Batman and Nick Fuentes as Robin.
Asian women 3 out of 10.
I'm the
also,
boss.
Look, not all Asian women are the same.
Ridiculous.
Like,
More like I'm George Washington.
The uninitiated
and he's,
probably couldn't tell the difference between like a
Jackson.
Thai woman and like a Korean woman, for example.
Thing. And
it's
Nick
just
is
like
having a generational run. It's true. I met Nick over 10 years ago. Thought he was very intelligent, very smart. Wasn't as, quote, radical as he is now. And his story, you know, is now well known, the origin story, the rest of it. But as I've said a million times, I get attacked for having him on. The left, the Democrats, the ADL, all of them literally say Christians, Catholics, white people are the...
What's crazy, I don't know if this is necessarily accurate as far as like beauty standards go, but I saw some like data from like some of these dating apps, and I think Asian women across the board are rated the highest. Like they have the highest preference from all the different like groups. You know, white, you know, men, that is, like white men, black men, I think Hispanics and Asian men. They all rated Asian women the highest. As far as beauty goes, I think white women probably take the prize there. I think there's a reason why, you know, a lot of cultures want to like whiten their skin. Like literally, like in like China, for example, in a lot of these Asian countries, they have like lotion that lightens your skin. That might have something more so to do with like the contrast. You know, having lighter skin increases the contrast between like your hair and eyes, which tends to be more attractive. So yeah, that's probably where that comes from. But also, you know, white countries have culturally dominated the world for a while. I'd be curious to see what it would look like, what the quote unquote beauty standards would be if like China dominated for 100 years. Like, would we see white women going out and getting cosmetic surgery to like have more Asian eyes? I wonder. Because like right now, it's like you see a lot of Asians getting cosmetic surgery to like get like eye folds and stuff to look more European. I don't know. They're more sheltered and cultured, which is unattractive. Well, they're more feminine. Asian, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Okay, now why is Alex now goon posting with fucking Ghislaine Maxwell in a bikini?
And now the bad
That's great. That's awesome. That's really great. I hear this argument with blacks: take the women while you got no job, and community's a mess. Not sure what you mean by that. Maybe I'm missing the context. I feel like recognizing facial features is based around who you grew up with. My entire childhood was around black people, and when I traveled after, yeah, of all the frames, real. After I left high school, all white people look the same to you. My dad cannot tell difference in some scenarios. Just pattern recognition, man. That's all it is.
Calls we do it. The other day, showing hundreds of headlines saying "Abolish whites, we're the devil." We're the demons. So you can't point your finger at Nick Fuentes, who doesn't want to kill all the other groups, who doesn't want to do it, but says we're not going to put up with this.
Didn't Alex Jones bang one of his coworkers? I don't know. I didn't hear about that.
From a race-based position, the left is even more Nazi than Adolf Hitler. So I don't apologize for having Nick on.
I'm getting down with that.
Effect of getting him on Tucker behind the scenes.
I know he slept with one of the presenters that led to his divorce.
I had no idea it would create an even bigger controversy.
Uncle Alex.
But here we are. So the time we have, the next hour and 50 minutes, I want to go through a lot of topics. We've got callers that are here. Get to some of them. A lot of people on X had questions. But Nick,
he likes the women.
Just paradoxically great to have you here. People can find all your work at Nick J. Fuentes on Rumble and find you on X. Big picture, answer this for me. Because they can take clips out of context. When Trump's doing something good, I see you promote it. When he does something bad, you put pressure on him. But paradoxically, my listeners just want to complain about Trump all day, which is fine. We take their calls, we do it. But how much time should be spent on the Democrats, BlackRock, the globalists, Islam? Because I also get this saying whenever I cover something with Islam or China or anything, it's like, why aren't you exposing Israel? It's great to expose Israel. It's great.
I think the answer is somewhat obvious. Look, we all know we oppose the left, all right? I think fundamentally, and maybe this is true only to a certain degree, bro, I'm going to fucking lose it. I'm going to lose it. Are you serious?
Sunday morning.
Can I not pause for 2 seconds? Is that not allowed? I'm trying to get a point across real quick. Fuck, man. The gist of what I was going to say is we have to get our own house in order first. We can't, we really should be more concerned with who we are platforming, so to speak, who we're, allying ourselves with, more so than what we're opposed to. I think what we're opposed to is obvious. And the fact that we know what we're against, that's not really, I think, going to change. The problem is, if we align ourselves with snakes, with grifters, with bad actors, then they just stab us in the back and they set us back. It makes it so much harder to actually combat our so-called real adversaries that are in front of us. These, whatever you want to call them, the woke radical left or whatever. When you've got these people who say they're on our side, but they're not on our side. Those are the people that are going to open up the gates to the invading army, that are going to sabotage your whole operation. So we should spend more time, frankly, policing and gatekeeping our own movement and defining what we're about before we really waste or spend time defining what we're against. We need to have a positive message, what we're in favor of, and we need to define, what our platform really is. And that'll determine who our allies are and who our enemies are. We can't ally ourselves with people that kind of fundamentally don't care for America. Just because they're critical of left-wing politics, that's not good enough. So somebody like Elon Musk will skin suit. He'll piggyback off all of this national rhetoric and sentiment. Meanwhile, he's in favor of more H-1Bs. Meanwhile, he's in favor of replacing American workers. Does that guy sound like somebody that we should be in favor of? Somebody that's on our side? I don't think so. I think we should look at people like Elon with great suspicion. Using the YouTube link? No, this is the X link. I'm on X right now. Rumble is garbage. This is Elon's fucking app, dude. This is Elon's app. Coded by the finest talent India has to offer, and it just keeps, because it's live, I guess it resets the video player to buffer. Anyway, the GOP's in power. Why complain about the Dems? Exactly. Why would we complain about the Dems? The GOP can do something. But it's every time you complain that the GOP fucking blows, which they do, and they're not doing anything, they're not effective, they're like, hey, don't complain about us, focus your attention on the Democrats. It's we beat the Democrats, did we not? We won. We got the Republicans into office to beat the Democrats, and now they're not doing anything to beat the Democrats. They're not doing anything to make America great again. They're not doing anything to help American people. So, yeah, we should hold them accountable. We should hold their feet to the fire. So, I owe these people that are in power, that got our support. No, I didn't vote in 24, but that got the American support, said, vote for me and I'll represent your interests, are not representing their interests. Surprise, surprise. And then when you complain about it, they say, why are you attacking your own? Because these people promised shit that they had no intention of ever doing. Surprise, surprise. People keep falling for it. So that's why we should care more about our own side.
The ADL, all of them literally say Christians, Catholics, white people.
Alex is dressed to go to war with the globalists. I thought he was a Christmas tree. He's got the Christmas tree fit on. He was blending in with his set. X's Indian crapware. Dude, it's crazy how fucking buggy it is. It's I don't even know, man. This website has existed for how long? Can't figure out a basic video player that isn't dog water.
Are the devil. We need to be eradicated. Even Elon Musk posted a video the other day showing hundreds of headlines saying abolish whites, we're the devil, we're the demons. So you can't point your finger at Nick Fuentes,
we've seen this like 5 times now.
doesn't want to kill all the
We've
other
watched
groups,
the
who doesn't
same
want to do-
start of this
but
segment
says,
5 fucking
we're not going to
times.
put up with this anymore, and then say he's a Nazi. From a race-based position, the left is even more Nazi than Adolf Hitler. So I don't apologize for having Nick on, and I love the Streisand effect of getting him on Tucker. I, behind the scenes, engineered that, and I had no idea it would create an even bigger controversy. But here we are. So the time we have, the next hour and 50 minutes, I want to go through a lot of
It's a 2-hour segment.
Callers that are here, some of them, a lot of people
We are
ask
2 minutes into
questions.
a 2-hour segment.
But
Okay.
Nick, first off, just paradoxically great to have you here. People can find all your work at Nick J. Fuentes on Rumble and find you on X. Big picture, answer this for me, because they can take clips out of context. When Trump's doing something good, I see you promote it. When he does something bad, you put pressure on him. But paradoxically, my listeners just want to complain about Trump all day, which is fine. We take their calls, we do it. But how much time should be spent on the Democrats, BlackRock, the globalists, Islam? Because I also get this thing whenever I cover something with Islam or China or anything, it's like, why aren't you exposing Israel? It's great to expose Israel. It's great that that taboo is over. The spell is broken. But then now as we enter this new era of where we're not just exposing foreign controlling influence, how do we then promote a new system? And then what does that stand for? What is America first? That's a big question, but I'm sure you can answer it.
It is a good question, and I get asked this question a lot because I spend all my time attacking Republicans and the right wing and Trump in particular, and people say, well, why don't you focus more on the left, or why don't you focus exclusively on the left? And to that, I would say we're in power right now. We, the Republicans, the Trump movement, are in power. Trump is in the White House. Republicans still, as of right now, control the House and the Senate. Allegedly, in the first term, they engineered it so that we could control the federal judiciary, the Supreme Court. So without a doubt, we have all the cards. We have all the power.
So we can all be holier than thou and just say Trump's bad, so we don't support him, let things collapse, have martial law, limit our communist dictatorship, or we can try to keep Trump honest, back to good things he's doing, and try to save the country. That's where I'm at. Leo in Minnesota.
What the fuck is this?
Alex, the general.
You gotta be kidding me, bro. Dude, okay, maybe oh, okay. Use the YouTube link. Is Alex Jones on YouTube again now? No way. He got banned again last time. Oh, is he back? Oh. Okay.
They're training more people to lose the peak of wokeness.
Okay. I didn't realize Alex was back on YouTube now. Last time I checked, he got banned. Is this the official?
Like, throw all those people.
Dude, I piss on X. X is so dog shit, man.
We've had sort of a strange relationship over many different issues and things, like when we did Yay 24 and a lot of different things. And I know that we have our disagreements. I think we generally agree on most things, though. And I know that some of your people criticize me, some of my people criticize you, but I think there's always been a mutual respect because we're both on the same journey in a sense. We're both taking the hits, and we've both been kind of through the gamut of what they've thrown at us. And I think you way more than me, the way they're coming for your company and this $1 billion lawsuit is totally insane. So I totally agree with that. As far as where the right wing is headed with the anti-white stuff,
starting in the same spot,
and how I feel about it, I started my show 10 years ago because as the youngest guy, as the 18-year-old, now I'm not even the youngest guy. I'm a younger guy, but I'm not the youngest. But as an 18-year-old coming of age during the Trump election and the rise of the alt-right, and really I would say at the peak of wokeness, which is synonymous with anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-straight white male. People my age at that time just had our finger on the pulse. We said our entire life we had been indoctrinated.
Side note, how the fuck did Ye see out of that mask? It must have been a bitch breathing in that thing.
With this diversity stuff. And increasingly it was becoming less pro
Nick is a OG in the game mentally.
And much more anti-white. And people forget how bad it was. I mean, I have to remind people, I have to remind myself that in 2017,
he's the guy.
It felt like history was moving in one direction and nothing on earth could change its course. And
OG
it was going to be
game.
more anti-white, more anti-male, more anti-Christian, more degenerate. And it did keep going in that direction for many years. It went from pro-gay to pro-trans. It went from, pro-black to this BLM insanity. Everything was getting worse. And I remember at that time, it straight up radicalized me because I said anti-white, hey, I'm white and I'm proud to be white and white people built the country. All the kind of stuff that is mainstream now, back then it was super controversial to say something is wrong here. Like, why is it okay to only attack white people and say white people should have fewer kids? They're going extinct, and that's a good thing. They're going to become a minority, and then Republicans can never win again. I said, this is shocking and outrageous, and it seems like no one's talking about it. I distinctly remember realizing that whites would become a minority in America and thinking about the political ramifications first, thinking about how that would empower Democrats forever. And I remember thinking, am I the only one who has discovered this? Like, why isn't anyone doing anything about this? I remember reading like Ann Coulter and Pat Buchanan and those people at that time and saying, there has to be surely some effort by Republicans to reverse this or fight it. And it just wasn't happening. I had to go out and do it myself. And I did that by supporting the Trump movement and then making it a little edgier, a little bit more radical.
Let me ask you this then. Do you think there's a second, third order thing with the social engineers, or were they that arrogant to think this wouldn't have a backlash? Because now the backlash is so powerful, I know they're scared.
I think it really was arrogance. And maybe you would ascribe more of an intention behind it than I would. But I think at that time it was just straight up hubris because the left was totally dominant and they controlled Hollywood and they controlled the media. And the Republican Party was a horrible brand. In 2014, who wanted to be a Republican? Nobody. The Republican Party was corny and stodgy and lame, and people thought it represented the rich and like crazy evangelicals. I mean, that's what Hollywood would say about it. It was a horrible brand. Even Republicans didn't like it. And then Trump came around in 2016 and turned all that on its head because he's a celebrity, billionaire, objectively cool. And he basically took the Republican Party and made it the winning brand and defeated the Democrats.
And now he's given up so much of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's forfeited that. But so no, I think that they really just got too cocky and they made a lot of unforced errors. And they gave up the game to Trump. And over 12 years, Trump has totally flipped.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm sure you've noticed this. You talk about it. Have you seen the record numbers of black people, Hispanics, and others that listen to you and me that actually get it? I mean,
I have, yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, I think that, it's funny because there's a lot of people that
I think it's a sense of fairness.
I don't know that it's fairness. I think it's more that they're not woke. Honestly, I think that blacks and browns are not woke like white people are. And by that, I mean, if you and I say...
They're not into the leftist religion.
I think a lot of it, too, is like, look, white people are pleasant to be around. All right? White people are chill. They're not likely to mug you. They're clean. They keep their neighborhoods clean. They're respectful. I think on a certain level, it's just like, even if you're not white, if you're like Mexican or you're black and you live around white people, it's like, and then you contrast that with going to like a black neighborhood, you see very clear differences in like how you're treated and how functional those places are. And so like the worst thing that can happen Like if you're a black guy, right? Yeah, you walk into a white neighborhood, you might get some looks like, who is this guy? You know, hide your valuables or whatever. But you go to like a black neighborhood and you're like, they're fucking thugs around here. They're a thug. Somebody could mug me. Somebody could attack me, and there's trash and shit. And I think on some level, like, yeah, like they've identified that. And I think that's one of the reasons why when you see a lot of these minorities, as soon as they get some money, they'll move into the neighborhoods around white people. And some of that is affluence, and but some of that is I would say a majority of that is definitely racial, as to why these places are more functional than others. You are the thug in your neighborhood. yeah, that's me. That's me. And I've seen it. Look, man, it's like, you go through some of these neighborhoods, that are of a, certain ethnicity, and everybody knows you got to be careful. And you don't have to be nearly as careful if you're driving through a white suburb. Everybody knows that. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of these minorities that support Nick and support his movement. One that is distinctly pro-white, because what would a less white America look like? It would probably be one that is, frankly, a lot less hospitable to minorities. Straight up. Like, one of the reasons why, like, so many minorities live here in the first place, and things haven't like collapsed in on themselves already, is because, white people are pretty chill. And there is this sort of like, altruistic element to white people where they do feel compelled. And sometimes it's you might, some minorities might find it, patronizing. But there is this sort of like altruism. White people want to go out and try to, like, quote unquote, fix the world. Like, like Sandra Bullock in, what's that movie? When she's got the black linebacker or whatever. And I think, simply put, if we want America to stay like functional, and I would say what would be the most welcoming to people, the most hospitable to people that are not white, well, you would want the country to stay majority white. Because you see what happens when countries become like majority, like, let's say black, for instance. You get South Africa, and they're just slaughtering white people down there, and the country's just totally fallen apart in a very short period of time. You see what happens when there's ethnic conflict in Eastern, Northeastern Africa and Sudan. The Arabs are cleansing the native African people in the West, and that's been a big schism. So you see what happens when there's a large Arab population. And then you see a similar thing with like the Han Chinese and how they view the Uyghur Muslims in the West. There's a lot of animosity there, and that's just human nature when it comes to diversity. You see conflict, and that's real. Like that, these are real case studies we should be looking at and saying, so this is what happens when a country becomes hyper diverse. There is civil unrest, and it does matter where these people are coming from. I think most people would prefer to have like Koreans immigrating than like Bangladeshi or like Somalians. So Nick's going to be well into the super chats from Mellow Kids 30 minutes in. Do you think enclaves should exist? Like the Somalian enclaves in like Minnesota? In general, no. In general, like, yes and no. Yeah, like Chinatown's pretty cool. It's a nice flavor. You get, but I do think that it can't be the modus operandi. It can't be like the norm. I think people should be expected to assimilate. And the fact that you have people living here for like 30 years that don't speak English is a problem. It's a big problem. And whether it's like, whether they're speaking like, it ultimately doesn't even really matter what they're speaking. It's like there's like I said, there's orders, there's layers to this. There's like an order of operations. First and foremost, you have to be American. That means you have to embrace the American identity. That has to come first. You can't put anything before that as far as your ethnicity or nationality are concerned. So like there's this dual loyalty that obviously we see in Jews, but you see this in a lot of other people too. There are a lot of Hispanics that come over and they're more proud to be Venezuelan or Mexican or Colombian than they are American. It's like, look, that's great and all, but that needs to come after you're American. And so one of the things like, and Italians in Italy kind of look down on the Italians that immigrated to America because they don't speak Italian, but the Italians that came to America, they made a conscious effort to stop speaking Italian. They found it embarrassing that they didn't understand English. They wanted to assimilate, and there needs to be that kind of mentality. Like, you want to be a part of America, that means you accept the customs, norms, and the language. Doesn't mean you stop being, Venezuelan, Mexican, Chinese, whatever. That obviously can't happen, and there's nothing wrong with being proud of who you are, but it cannot supersede your national identity. That's not really like a big demand. Every other country understands this. Every other country that isn't located in Europe, America, North America, or like Australia, New Zealand, every country that doesn't exist in the European or the Anglosphere understands this. It's like, yeah, try going to China and refusing to learn the language, or refusing to embrace like your new Chinese nationality and putting like the Chinese nationality first. Like, they would never accept you. Every other country understands this, and that's how they maintain their identity and their cohesion. And so a big part of the problem is how much immigration we're facing right now. So it's allowing these enclaves to open up where they don't have to assimilate. And that's a big problem. And whether you see it in Minnesota with the Somalians, whether you see it in like Texas with the Indians and Chinese, like if you go to Dallas, dude, it's like unfucking real. You're pretty much walking into like, not America, I'll tell you that much. And that's kind of a problem. So I refuse to use chopsticks. Look, you don't have to go that far, but it is just like, there is something irritating when I walk into like when I went to go get Chinese food the other day, and I walk in and like I'm trying to communicate with this fucking person and they don't speak English. Like, okay, I don't want this to be my country, I want people to speak the language. That's not a tall order. That's like the bare minimum, that people just learn the fucking language, man, that are proud to be American. But you see a lot of people and they have nothing but resentment towards America. And it's like, okay, then why are you here? Like, how can we be neighbors with people that hate this fucking country? How can we live next to people that fundamentally hate this country and what it's about? Does that sound like a good idea? Does that sound like that's like we're on the same team to make the country better? When you've got people that literally just hate white people because they think they're colonizers or something. Like, dude, yeah, okay, then go somewhere else then. Go somewhere else where you don't have to live next to colonizers, right? It's just, it's aggravating.
Well, the guilt and the sensitivity, like with white people, if you say something racist, sexist, homophobic, beta males and white women are going to freak out. They're going to say, what did you just say? I can't believe you. And I think that brown and black people just don't have that, because black people have been used to doing whatever they want forever, and they could say whatever they want and do whatever they want. And so when a white guy kind of gives them the same energy, like, hey, I'm not one of these woke tards, they love it. And I think Hispanics, it's the same way. And they're also pretty conservative. Like I know that's like a meme, But it's true that Hispanics and blacks have always been very socially conservative. They're
That's
not
right. The
down
communists
with,
got pissed they couldn't get the blacks to become communists in this country.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not down with gay shit.
I mean, in many ways, blacks are socialist, but they're not down with this like LGBT feminist stuff. They're not down with the pronoun. Like, they're not with that. And yeah, they want more government programs. Like, they think everything should be free, but they also don't want to be preached to by some like white Jewish liberal woman or some like white beta male bisexual guy. Like, they don't want to deal with that kind of thing. And I think, you know, maybe they don't agree with me on everything, but they say, oh, I like this guy because he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care about the political correctness. In many ways, that's why they respect Trump. They kind of just respect someone that's a G, you know, someone that doesn't care as much about that stuff. So I think it's an attitude maybe that they like.
The government fears Alex Jones, who has the largest audience in the country, bigger than any of the networks.
Skip.
I'm the boss. The crew did that. He's
okay.
Nick is having a generational run.
This is the part that we just,
you know, is now well known.
I've heard 1,000 times.
Hundreds of headlines. So I don't apologize for having Nick on, and I love the Streisand effect of getting him on Tucker. I behind the scenes engineered that. And I had no idea it would create an even bigger controversy. But here we are. So the time we have, the next hour and 50 minutes, I want to go through a lot of topics. We've got callers that are here, get to some of them. A lot of people on X had questions. But Nick, first off, just paradoxically great to have you here. People can find all your work at Nick J. Fuentes on Rumble and find you on X. Big picture, answer this for me. Because they can take clips out of context. When Trump's doing something good, I see you promote it. When he does something bad, you put pressure on him. But paradoxically, my listeners just want to complain about Trump all day, which is fine. We take their calls, we do it. But how much time should be spent on the Democrats, BlackRock, the globalists, Islam? Because I also get this saying whenever I cover something with Islam or China or anything, it's like, why aren't you exposing Israel? It's great to expose Israel. It's great that that taboo is over. The spell is broken, but then now as we enter this new era of where we're not just exposing foreign controlling influence, how do we then promote a new system? And then what does that stand for? What is America first? That's a big question, but I'm sure you can answer it.
It is a good question, and I get asked this question a lot because I spend all my time attacking Republicans and the right wing and Trump in particular, and people say, well, why don't you focus more on the left, or why don't you focus exclusively on the left? And to that, I would say we're in power right now. We, the Republicans, the Trump movement, are in power. Trump is in the White House. Republicans still, as of right now, control the House and the Senate. Allegedly, in the first term, they engineered it so that we could control the federal judiciary, the Supreme Court. So without a doubt, we have all the cards. We have all the power. And I think that when that is the case, especially, maybe it's a different story when Biden was in charge. I was certainly far more critical of the Democrats when he was the president. But when Republicans are in charge, I really believe we have a special obligation to put the heat on Trump and to light a fire under them to get the things that they promised to do finished, because we don't have that much time. And I understand what you're saying. There are some people that are telling us that, you know, politics is useless. It's a waste of time. People say things like there are no political solutions. And I, like you, am a bit more optimistic. I think that even the Trump administration presents us with opportunities. And as you said, when he does positive things, I heap praise upon Trump. Like, for example, for the tariffs, for securing the border. These are very positive things. We have to be honest, though, and say there are a lot of negatives here. For example, the foreign policy. This intervention in Venezuela has like a 16% approval rating with the voters, and it looks inevitable at this point. The Epstein files was a totally self-induced debacle. And so I do just think we have an obligation. There's a commission on the part of the America First base to be very loud. And I also think very negative. I think that we always have to be asking for more because time is of the essence. There's so much urgency. We don't realistically even have 4 years. We actually have like a year and a half. If we could talk about the timeline of the 4 years, breaking it down.
Yeah, let's do that. And I don't disagree with you. I think putting pressure on Trump is good. I was just putting the question out there. But let's talk about the timeline, big picture.
Yeah, so in terms of timeline, I was saying this throughout the election last year and even at the beginning of this year, and you know this perfectly well because you were around for the first term too, and we both watched it sort of in real time. Everybody thinks you get 4 years. That's the president's term. So people think we got 2025 until 2029 when the next president's inaugurated. And so we have plenty of time. And we really don't, though. Because as you know, the ruling party almost always suffers in the midterms, especially in the House. It's almost a given that we will lose the House of Representatives in 2020.
Did you see the video of the Italian pickpocket getting caught and the American guy in the background telling the person filming, "You're not very nice. Can't you just be nice and let her go?" I don't want to live next to that guy. That's cooked. What's up, Emgo? Did I miss motion? No, not yet. Did not miss the emotion.
That is a year away. That more likely than not, because we have such a slim majority, we're going to lose the House. And you know that once we lose the House, the Democrats are going to do everything in their power to subpoena, to investigate. They're going to try and jam up the administration. It's going to take a lot of energy away from some of the other initiatives and projects. So that's a major pressure. The other thing is the elections. Probably before we even lose the House, there's going to be, to some extent, some moderating. The administration might not want to be extremely aggressive. They're going to be more risk averse because in the build up to the midterms, they're going to be campaigning and they're going to try to win over people in the middle, the independents. We have to win the election. So realistically, in like the spring or the summer of next year, they might start to moderate. And then the third thing is that Trump is a lame duck. And that means that he is term limited. He can't run again in 2028. Starting in 2027, just a couple months after the midterms, like half his cabinet and many of the senators and governors might start their exploratory committees and start thinking about running for president. And that includes Vance, Rubio, Noem, DeSantis. Like a lot of people are going to start to look for the exits and they're going to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so by 2027, there's not going to be a ton of focus. Then 28, you got another election. So all this is to say, you really need to push hard and strong and fast. There's a lot of urgency.
So what does Trump need to do right now? I mean, if you were the president, what would you do?
If I'm the president, I'm going to do mass deportations. I'm going to do everything in my power to deport as many people as possible immediately. And no excuses about we need to spin up the personnel. And I get it. I talk to people that are in government and I understand some of the problems, but we need like a Herculean effort to get those deportations up immediately.
Did you like Trump saying that he's going to total ban on all third world immigration?
I thought it was the best statement he's had in probably 5 years, but it's just a statement. We need to, if he turned that into policy, I'd be happy as a clam and I would be.
Which, speaking of which, 15 minutes ago, the DHS has announced a full suspension of immigration and naturalization from 19 countries, which include Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. And actually, Nick responded, now do India, which is literally exactly what I said. I think a lot of people were saying when this was first teased a week ago. Here, I'll pull it up. I will pull it up. Melly, do you know the deportation numbers right now? Last I checked, it was 2 million and 500K deported and 1.5 million self-deportations. There were a lot of problems with the self-deportation numbers. I don't think are accurate. I don't even think we're at 1 million. What was it, like 800K maybe? I don't even think we hit 1 million this year. Or you think it's 500K? Yeah, I think it's lower than. There's a reason why there's a reason why they stopped reporting on it in February. Whoops, in my spacebar. I need India and China. And here's the thing, man. It's like, okay, so we're in this trade and tech war with China, but we keep importing all of their nationals. How does that make any sense? So we need to have a leg up on China technologically and militarily, but we're letting them all into our sensitive tech sectors to work. And we don't see that as a major problem. We're in this trade war with China, a war that could very easily go hot, yet we have hundreds of thousands of Chinese nationals living here right now in sensitive industries. Make it make sense, dude. Make it make sense. Just not a serious government. Like, holy shit. It's a trust me, bro, they're leaving. He needs 10K per day if he wants 10 million gone in 3 years. Yeah, like the numbers are just like, dude. Like every country has borders. Every country. This is not. We can't have a country with tens upon tens of millions of illegals. It's ridiculous. If I had to guess, China is probably keeping the top talent while sending the lower ones to work in Silicon Valley. I mean, look, yes and no. I don't think it's like they're keeping the top talent. I don't think it's necessarily like that. They'll just send, like, these Chinese nationals will come to America, work here for 15 years, and then get like a senior job back in China. They'll go back home with all of the information that they've gathered from working in industry in America for 15 years. All of the processes that they've learned, everything, the ins and outs. They steal ideas, they steal code, they steal engineering documents. There's a reason why, like, BYD, why their designs look so much like Tesla's. They copy and they steal. And frankly, it's at the point where, you know, they've in many ways surpassed the Western counterparts. Their batteries are superior to Tesla batteries. So it's like America is not even protecting its own intellectual property. So it's painful, man. It's like these people running the country are just not serious. I love my racist Chinese friends, but they need to go back. Yeah, look, a lot of people have to go back. And yeah. And again, it's just like it's hard because, you know, well, I think we all get it. Let's just keep going. I've yapped for long enough.
You know, MAGA night at the White House. So it'd be 2016 all over again. We're never coming down. But the problem is we always just get these like statements. Trump gets in trouble in the polls. He gets in trouble with his favorability. And then we always see that he brings out the red meat and he throws this out to the base. And it's sort of disturbing that he knows exactly what to say. Like that was a perfect statement that I would love. And so you say to yourself, oh, so you do know how to make us happy. You know exactly what we want to hear. You know exactly what we want you to do. Why are we now getting it all of a sudden like you flipped a switch? We should have been getting this the entire time, and not just in words, but in actions also. So, yeah, I mean, I thought it was an excellent statement, but we just need to see it actualized and realized. It's too much talk. And it also just seems like he's covering his behind, because we know that the numbers are really bad right now. Favorability polling, approval, and even this generic ballot polling that's coming out for 26. Everybody knows, and you and I have been talking about it for months, he's in real trouble. Like Marjorie Greene resigning, they might lose their majority even before the midterms if they lose a couple more people, if a couple more people jump ship or drop out. And so I think
and all he puts had to do was be nice to her and not attack her. It's another self-inflicted wound.
Exactly. And that's really the saddest thing about this, is it's a missed opportunity. Here we are. We're well positioned. We know what we need to do. We know what the people want. We have the power to do it. He has the mandate. The left is disorganized. And yet it's all these self-inflicted wounds. And there was so much optimism and confidence, the golden age and all this kind of stuff. And it feels like all over again, we're squandering it. And you have to lay the blame at the feet of the people with responsibility. They're looting. And I'm sure you know about this too. It is like a criminal enterprise, the way the people in this government are looting the government. It is like the epitome of grifter city, and everybody knows them there. It's insane. And, so people don't see the change happening, and they want to make excuses and talk about QAnon and five-dimensional chess.
And that's why they kicked Elon out, because he was doing real change.
Exactly right. Well, because he came in with private sector people. And he said, we're going to move fast and break things. And, we're going to have a technological solution to a political problem.
Because the system will collapse and none of the money's worth a thing. He didn't do it out of some altruism, but saving the ship. And these crazies are just continuing on with all of the, I mean, we could go into a whole deep dive on it. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it is. The whole country's collapsing, and it feels like nothing is going to shake us out of this. Might have to get worse before it gets better. I'm not an accelerationist, but you almost feel that's inevitable because here we are. Things could not be worse in terms of the situation on the war footing, the fiscal situation, the debt situation, plus the mass migration. Like, how could it get worse? And yet we're still asleep at the wheel.
So let's look at a few scenarios. Crystal ball here. We're not saying this is the future, but particular futures. What are the futures you see if this doesn't succeed and the left comes in? Because people are radicalized. They're going to be, Nick Fuentes, or they're going to be Mondami. They're going to go America first. They're going to go commie. People, I mean, that shows how desperate the young people are.
Yeah, it's true. And especially in New York, where people that make six figures, they're affected by the affordability crisis. Like, New York is unaffordable for people that are actually making quite a bit of money. And what happens when people can't get ahead is they turn to that. When people have no stake in the society, they're going to turn to the redistribution, the redistributive scheme. And unfortunately, that comes with a lot of like anti-white grievance politics. And so I think what you're going to get in 28, I don't think it's so clean on the left because, look, they've had the same problem for many, many years, which is there's a deep tension between the establishment and the idealistic wing of the party, the progressive wing. You saw it in 2016 when they cheated Bernie. They cheated Bernie again in 2020. Like, Bernie won the first 3 contests, and then the Democrats came in and they rigged it for Biden in South Carolina. And then in 24, all the insiders said, no, we're going to do Biden. Oh, it turns out like that's impossible. Okay, well, we're just going to have Kamala. And there wasn't even a process. I think you're going to get a lot of frustration in 28. And with Trump not on the ticket, I don't know that they're really going to be able to rally. So they got some difficulty too. I think the task of the right is to outflank the left on economic populism. That's just the answer. It's literally that simple because the left has a lot of internal contradictions. It's not so easy for them because, there's going to be this like Josh Shapiro, Zoran Mamdani problem is what I would call it. On the right, we really just need to capitalize on the fact that the left is sort of being dragged down by the identity politics for them. It's like the anti-white grievance politics, the radical stuff, the Antifa, transgender stuff. It's really hurting them with a lot of their people. But the right just needs to get out of their own way. They need to deliver on affordability, housing. They can't be telling the voters, if you can't afford to live in your city, you have to go and move somewhere else and work on an oil rig. Like, that's not going to work. So there's opportunity for the right, but they have to listen to people like me, people like you, people like Tucker. They need to kind of hear that we're at a red alert. Big opportunities, but also major risks if we don't make the smart decisions. So that's sort of my crystal ball for 28. I think that the left is still not completely fortified yet, not consolidated, but they can, and you can see it. They're rallying because the right is making a lot of unforced errors. No reason it should be like this.
What do you make of Newsom being their main frontrunner?
I think that Newsom is somebody he's similar to DeSantis in the sense that he has a lot of weaknesses that people don't realize. He's very arrogant. If you watched his debate with DeSantis, that governor's debate about a year or two ago, he didn't come off great. He didn't do a great job.
Well, that's a good use of a Dodge Challenger. You're seeing on screen.
Bro, this fucking website, it just starts auto-playing. Okay. All right. You know what? Elon, please.
And people are excited about him. Like, I was excited.
If you can't pronounce the letter L, you need to leave. Is debtor's prison a sin? I don't know what the theology, what the doctrine is on that. Even Hillary Clinton is talking about Nick now. Guys, we made it. Yeah, I saw that clip. Yeah. That the break off with Israel is generational. It really is. Gen Z and below and younger are totally not on board with Israel. I think even millennials. It's really a like boomer Gen X issue. They are the ones that are carrying the torch, and every day there are fewer boomers left. So it's only a matter of time before total Groyper victory. It's only a matter of time. That's why that's one of the reasons why they're making their play now. What did Hillary say? Here, I'll play the clip. Oh yeah, so true. Red 5. Here somewhere. Is it AF Post? Fucking Nikita. Yeah, dude. Elon, I think he's just being disingenuous. Wait, who posted it? Let me see here. Oh, Fuentes updates. Bing bong, bing bong.
Are we about to lose the U.S.?
I don't think so, but I don't think you can take it for granted. And I don't think it's a partisan issue. I think it's more generational. I mean, when you hear people like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes talking, they're on the right. When you hear others saying similar things, they're on the left.
I do think it's kind of funny who is like the biggest like left-wing pundit that has like the same kind of like following or aura as like either Tucker or Nick. Who's their influencer thought leader? I guess the closest you would get would be like generationally, like Hassan. I mean, he's a millennial. He's critical of Israel, but he's not as big as either Nick or Tucker. Whoopi Goldberg, that's kick. The guy with the white hair. What, Kyle Kalinske? He's like still like none of their influence. They don't have like, it doesn't feel like they have the same like they certainly don't have like any standout individuals with that same like cult of personality, that like cult following that people on the right wing have. They don't have like superstars, I feel. It is an interesting difference between the two sides. Bill Maher, I guess. Anderson Cooper. How much what's their viewership looking like? Anybody have an answer to that? Anybody know? I don't really feel like looking it up. But they're not really saying anything. They're not really catching headlines and shit, you know? The most you could say, the most interesting person is what? Hassan? And that's really not because of any like genius political take he has. It's because he's like shocking his dog. He's like committing animal abuse and glazing China, you know? While being a like anti-American, he's just straight up Marxist, third worldist. Bill Maher, Crystal Ball Shank. Crystal Ball. Yeah, I just, you know, like what does the viewership look like? Young Turks. I just,
every day the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of
like, bro, is this real? Is this real? Are we serious right now? 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 Oh, Anna Kasparian talking about Nick. Anna Kasparian Groyper. Come on, stop being a bitch. Just like Put on the fucking America First hat. Come on. Come on. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. You know you want to. She even dyed her hair blonde. Aryan Kasparian. Aryan Kasparian Goiper. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I guess, like, is it just today? Like, I don't know. Their viewership, I guess it's okay. But considering they have 7 million or 6 million subscribers, you know, is Tucker Carlson on YouTube? I know it's a different format, right? I know Tucker's, he posts individual, like, long form typically. But, like, yeah, so, like, these are all full-length podcasts. New Rumble name. Huh? Kyle Kalinske. Hang on, like, let's look at, you know what, this, I was going to, title, I was thinking of going live yesterday and just, like, the title of the stream would be, like, Candace Owens is a stupid bitch, something like that, you know? But, like, dude, she is fucking insane. Like, legitimately insane. There's something wrong with this woman. Like, it's actually crazy. The mental gymnastics this woman is doing. You want to talk about psyops? You want to see a psyop in real time? What is happening to Candace Owens is a psyop. Like, just think about this for 2 seconds. So Candace Owens on the record has come out and said, I don't believe anything coming out of the government, especially the FBI and the CIA. I don't believe a word they say. Now she's coming out and saying, I have an insider inside the government that's tipping me off that the Macrons hired assassins to kill me because I won't stop talking about Bridget Macron's penis. What? What happened to not believing anything coming out? What? What's the evidence? My anonymous source. Trust me. That's so fucking unhinged. You know how ridiculous that sounds? And now there's supposedly this connection between France and the Charlie Kirk assassin. What are we talking about here? Maybe Glenn Greenwald, he has a big following on Substack. Glenn Greenwald's, is he not on the right? Is he not like kind of like a moderate right-wing guy? He's been pro-Nick. I mean, I know he's a gay Jew and all that, but you know, like, and that's not like, I don't use that as like a pejorative. Like, literally, he's gay and he's Jewish. Like, that's not. Jon Stewart, he's retired though, isn't he? Yeah, Bridget Macron and her Nazi chocolatiers killed Charlie and soon Candace. Yeah, dude, it's just like, what are we fucking doing, man? And she pulls 2 million views every fucking stream. Isn't that insane? She'll have like 150,000 live viewers listening to just the dumbest shit you could possibly imagine. And it's like, look, I understand part of it is entertainment. You know, part of it is like, let's hear these like radical conspiracy theories because it's funny. But there are people who take this seriously. And clearly the intent is not to be parody. It's not to be sarcastic. Like, I genuinely believe Candace Owens, she believes she's doing groundbreaking journalism here. And whoever is psyoping her, like whichever agent in like the FBI, they've got to be like dying of laughter. What can we get this stupid bitch to believe in next? Let's give her another anonymous tip. Let's give her another insider scoop. The Frankists. It's the B cult. Now it's the Macrons. The Macrons. The Satan-worshipping Macrons. with their penises. They're the ones that kill Charlie. What is next? And they're trying to kill Candace Owens, but she's the arbiter of truth. And she's not going down without a fight. Just like, dude, what the actual fuck are we doing? Gotta give her some grace. Losing Charlie's been hard on her. Yeah, Charlie Kirk gets shot in the fucking neck in broad daylight. Candace Owens the most affected. Candace Owens the most affected. Yeah, I could feel bad for her, if she weren't making a bag off of this. They have crazy candidates. We have Clav. It's all good. Yeah, Clav. Clavicular.
So this is not a Republican versus Democrat.
What she's saying right now is true.
This is generational.
I ask you, if Israel is losing the U.S., are we losing the Democratic Party? Is the Democratic Party losing itself? Looking at Israel?
Look, I think the Democratic Party, like the Republican Party, because you can go...
Literally the World Jewish Congress. Oh, but world Jewry is not a thing. Collective Jewry is not a thing, right? They say at the World Jewish Congress.
From
that has fucking former Secretary of State, former First Lady Hillary Clinton speaking. No, there's no like Jewish cabal or organized world Jewry at the World Jewish Congress. They tell you that's not a real thing. That's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Anyway, the next speaker at the World Jewish Congress, like, dude, yeah, W Hillary. Just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not out to get you, brother. Yeah. Wait, just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not out to get you? Are you talking about Candace? John is back. Who? Oh, Jon Stewart? Are you behind? Are you behind right now? Yeah. I guess. But he's also old. Yeah, I don't know. They don't really have like a strong cult of personality over there.
From obviously President Trump to people that are associated with the Republican Party. I mentioned two of them, Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. That's a pretty wide range. I think similarly in the Democratic Party, you have a comparable range. But I don't think you can take anybody for granted. And I think it's important within the Democratic Party to have the kind of discussions that I was just talking about. And there are people that I disagree with within the Democratic Party. Obviously, a lot of people I disagree with in the Republican Party. But we have to do a better job of talking through the importance of supporting Israel and Israel's security in a way that crosses generations.
So it's the messaging that's the problem. We just need to change the messaging. Gotcha. Okay, well, good luck with that.
Excited about him because he's like a handsome, tall, white guy from the left, as opposed to the kind of race communism like a Stacey Abrams. So that's sort of interesting. But he ran California into the ground. He's not that intelligent. I don't even really think he's that likable. He seems frustrated and sort of like a little bit smug and arrogant. So I think like it's just like it was in the Republican primary last year.
What do they say? Symbolism will be their downfall. You know, what do they say? I was supposed to get a haircut, but they fucking canceled on me. Pissed. It was a snowstorm.
You never really know until a person is thrust onto the national stage how they're going to perform. And so right now, Newsom is the favorite, and he's obviously making moves. Pritzker, he's on Ozempic so that he can run. And
Pritzker, no fucking shot. The fat man. They both suck. They both ran their respective states into the fucking ground. I think they would have to choose, like, literally some state that is totally insulated from like the problems of illegal immigration, number one, such that they haven't been forced to take unpopular policy positions. Like they probably have to pick somebody out of like New England, like find someone from Maine, you know? Otherwise, it's like, oh yeah, you're going to get Pritzker to run the country. Can't even run Illinois. Same thing with Newsom. And Newsom can say all he wants about, oh, but California is, what is it, like the fifth largest economy in the world? Yeah, that's great and all, but shouldn't it be doing way better than it already is? California is like, literally, California is like the most overpowered, not just state, like the most overpowered land in the entire world. It has everything. It has fucking everything. Like, California should be totally dominant. People should be like, it should be a utopia. It's gorgeous. You have a wide variety of different biomes. You have natural resources. You have this enormous coastline. It's awesome. The weather is immaculate. Like, California should be like heaven on earth. The fact that it's not is a testament to the way it's being run. California supremacy, true. It's the best state. 100% it's the best state. Just, you know, as far as what it has to offer. Like, seriously. It has it all. It's like its own sort of like, it's crazy. You could go from like surfing to snowboarding in the same day to hang out in the fucking desert. Like, what other state has that? You go hiking up in the north with these enormous evergreens. You've got wine country. That's some of the most gorgeous. If you've ever been to like NorCal, my goodness, it's like just driving through it is a dream. And then you've got SoCal, got LA, got the entertainment industry. It's just like, it doesn't even feel like a real place sometimes. When you put it all on paper, it's like, yeah, that's pretty overpowered. Like, it's actually like, it's like, what else has anything like close to California? Florida, all swamp. The East Coast is like just totally different from the West Coast. Yeah. Please take my Governor Newsom is coming from my county. Oof. It's got Latinas. It's got AVGs. It's got hojabis. It's got Ebony Queen 2s. Yeah, Ebony Queens too. Got them all. Got them all. Yeah, man, California is pretty goated. It just sucks that it's being run into the fucking ground. If I were Emperor of America, I'd probably move the fucking capital to the West Coast. Yeah. We could be doing some. That's like, maybe when you think about what America could be, just for 2 seconds, just the amount of untapped potential, squandered potential we have here. It's just like, dude, we are nerfing ourselves. We're fumbling the bag. You can't ask, like, we literally have like the most valuable land in the entire world. Like, realistically, we could never be invaded. Like, our land is, like, what are they going to do? They come in from the West Coast, okay, they have to deal with a mountain range, and then a desert, and then another mountain range. They're coming from the South, desert. They're coming from the Southeast, fucking swamps, and gators and shit. You know? They're coming from the East, mountain range. They're coming from the North, tundra. How are you going to invade America? You like, the only way they could invade it is the way they're doing it right now. Far more subtly. So, it's Bottega. Yeah. I like you, Mellow. You tell me truths I don't want to hear. You humble you. Former Cali hater converted. Yeah, it's California is so fucking good, man. Well, don't get me wrong. I hate the way California is being utilized. Like there are parts of California that should disgust you, but that's not a problem of the land, of like, you know, the geography. That problem is solvable and it's political. California is paradise. We have Sasquatch and Dark Watchers. Yeah, dude. Man, I love California. Fuck, man. Why does it have to be filled with just like shit-lib policies, dude? Thanks, Reagan. Thank you, Reagan. You really fucked that up, huh? Anyway.
Buttigieg is looking at running, and you have a lot of people that are thinking about it. And I think that Gavin Newsom, it reminds me sort of like Jeb Bush, where he's maybe just the one with name recognition. He's maybe just the one who's got a little bit of name ID. He's a little bit well known. He's tall. Maybe he's got the look.
That's kind of like what they did with Waltz when they ran him as VP. It's like, who was this guy? You know, they wanted somebody that was literally, dude. You know this trope? It's like there's this trope you see in a lot of shows, the girl boss shows, where you have this like, what is the name of this show? What is the name of the show? It's on Netflix. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. But there's just like the premise of this show is there's this like mystery meat like girl boss. She's like a billionaire and she runs this company. And there's like all the white people are like either retarded or like totally neutered. And like the one white guy who's competent is like a total fucking pussy. Totally neutered, totally like unassuming, non-threatening. That's like what I think of like what is the name of the fucking show? What is the name of the show? Anyway, that's what I think of like it's this common trope you see where they just find that kind of, and that's what Waltz was. Same thing. Unthreatening, sorry looking white guy. That's what they ran with. Right? Unthreatening to the women, right? To the you know, unthreatening to like the minority base in the Democrat Party, and still subservient to the the black girl boss, or technically brown girl boss that they platformed. And that's like every Netflix show you see now. That's what they ran with. So yeah, I think they like, if they're, because they want to pander to their diverse base. And somebody like Gavin Newsom might be problematic in that regard, because he's this good-looking white guy with a white family, pretty normal for the most part. Optically, I don't think that's what they want to go for. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll make a play for like a return to normalcy. But I don't know. I doubt it.
And so I think that's
Gavin Newsom / Brandon Johnson. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Race to the fucking bottom, dude. Race to the fucking bottom.
It's just the default. I think, though, that once the primary starts, we're going to get a complete surprise.
No, I agree. So who do you think the front runner is on the Republican side of this big question?
Oh, it's Vance, without a question. It's Vance, and he's the one that's polling the highest.
Bro, Vance sucks so much, man. It's not even funny. They're trying so hard to make him likable. Dude, imagine imagine you're some PR intern, right? And your task is to try to make that goober look cool. That's like Iron Man difficulty impossible. Make JD Vance look cool, likable, relatable. Fuck, man. It's like you have two options. Either like shoot yourself in the head or like make JD Vance look likable. All right, you better start loading that gun. I don't know. It's like, it's over. There's nothing you can do. But I don't know. I think a lot of Republicans are just like really just kind of cooked, and they'll just vote Republican because the radical like a lot of it is just cope. A lot of the people liking or shilling Vance that aren't paid shills are just coping. And I know because I've seen this, like, this is not a new thing in the Republican Party. Like, Republicans try to make like Jeb Bush look likable. And yeah, for like as you know, Nick said earlier, it's like, yeah, it was for a long time considered very uncool to be Republican. Like, you're a square, you're a nerd. Because look at the people you're promoting. Look at the people, like, look at your politicians, dog. They're all fucking nerds. They're all squares. They have no charisma. They're not likable. And if you're gonna have like platform shills, at least have them be charismatic. Anyway. Yeah, I feel like they would go for an unknown. Someone that they can shape, that they can mold. Someone with like a limited presence that they can build up and work up. That doesn't have all this baggage.
And he's the one that's favored in the betting markets. And it makes sense. He's the vice president, so he's sort of the heir apparent. You know, he's right now the favorite. But I think it's the same thing with him. You know, I'll give it to him. He's a good politician. And I think he's making a lot of strategic moves. He leaped in front of the Charlie Kirk funeral. And I don't want that to sound like it's cynical, but I do think that was a political move, even if it was sincere in some ways. I think it was smart. He's also leapt in front of, for example, the issue of Antifa, of the National Guard being deployed, immigration. When he was in Israel, he went to the church instead of the wall. Very calculated. And I think he's sort of been grooming the so-called dissident right. He's telling them what they want to hear. I think he's paving the way with the right-wing cultural.
Doubt, it's not about credit. It's true. People that don't know, you had your big split with Shapiro and all them in the last 9 years. And then Groypers basically took over. TPUSA was evident. And now you look at Vance getting questions. It sounds like you wrote his responses. So I think actually the criticism, whereas he attacks you publicly, I think he's actually listening to you in policy.
Well, I don't know that he's listening to us, but I think it's strategic because, you know, you look at his actual policy, and I'll never forget this, and other people shouldn't either, and this is a concern. I'm always listening and I'm always open-minded, but last year, Vance made a very intentional choice during the election to go to an anti-war think tank called the Quincy Institute, and they're not isolationists, but they're prioritizers. And there's a book by Barry Posen, and it kind of gives their ideology, and they talk about prioritizing China or the Western Hemisphere. He goes to a think tank which is very much against the Middle Eastern wars, and he gives a speech about putting a pro-Israel spin on America first and justifying the relationship with Israel on the basis of missile defense or arming them to fight Iran or integrating them into an Abraham alliance that can kind of share the responsibilities in the Middle East. And that was like a very intentional signal. He was signaling allegiance and loyalty to the Israel lobby.
Well, it was double-edged. He says, we're going to officially get out of the Middle East, but we'll back Israel as the proxy.
Right. And, you know, and I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, because I don't think that that's even possible. And I think that this year has sort of shown the limitations of that idea, because Trump is trying to extricate us from the region and Netanyahu wants us to fight Iran. And so I don't know how simple that is to say, well, we're just going to hand it off to Israel. I think Israel's always going to kind of need our help, and they're always going to demand more. So it's a question. And I think that Vance, he's acutely aware of the fact that public sentiment is turning against Israel, and that's why he didn't condemn Tucker. That's why when he was asked about it, he actually went and quote tweeted some Jewish journalist who was attacking Buckley, Tucker's son, who works for Vance in the press office. That was a very telling response. And so now Vance is pivoting, and now he's signaling to the Groyper-aligned Gen Z or the Groyper-aligned millennials and Xers who are very critical of Israel. And I think that's a very strategic choice. I guess the question is in 28.
I don't think there's a think. It's not about tooting your horn, because, you know, it's a wave you rode in on, but you were so much.
You know, that remember, what was it, like a week or two ago? One of the, like, who was it? Hippocratic, you probably know what I'm talking about. But one of those people that was close to JD Vance, help me out here. He went on some podcast and said that JD Vance says he hates Nick. He hates the Groypers. but recognizes politically he can't disavow them. That he needs, more or less, he needs their support. Which, whether or not he said that, whether or not like he actually said that, I think that the statement is true. JD Vance can't disavow Nick. He can't disavow the Kuipers. He can't disavow the America First movement, because the America First movement, frankly, is aligned with the core values of what the MAGA movement was supposed to be about. Yeah, Rod Dreher. Yeah, that's who it was. And this is true. And so in a certain sense, like, the GOP establishment quite simply has been completely outflanked by Nick. Everybody knows this now. This is, and frankly, it's been sort of the political reality for quite some time, but it's never been more true than now. If JD Vance disavows Nick and the Kuipers, his career's over. His political career is over. Simple as. Now, he can't, like, for his sake, the way he's built his career, he can't completely align himself with Nick because he needs that Jewish donor money. And they would never, or at least it's very unlikely they would ever support JD Vance if he were to chum up to Nick. You know, and unless there's some, 5D chess going on where they think that they can pull the same trick that they did with Trump, skin suiting, I don't think that they would trust Nick, because Nick is an entity that exists outside of this like swamp GOP bubble. And so I don't think they would trust anybody truly aligning with him. But moreover, I think it would take a lot to actually win the support from Nick. Considering everything we know about JD Vance, he would have to give a lot of concessions. He would really have to do a lot to win the support of the Kuipers. Almost so much where I don't even know if it's possible. At least it's not realistic. So that puts JD Vance in a very tough spot. And again, it's like he cannot win an election based off of his charisma alone. That's only going to hurt him. What's up, Siggers Roger? Did Nail and Haley comment on Nick? I don't think he has. If he did, yeah, look, and this is like the latest strat that they're cooking up. They'll find some like politically adjacent stooge, whether it's Nail and Haley or maybe Tucker himself or whatever, and they'll like give Nick a little pat on the head, right? Oh yeah, you know what? Nick is upset. He represents a generation of like disaffected young white men. We understand, Nick. But listen to us instead. It's this sort of pandering, but this gentle redirection. And that's essentially what Tucker is doing, albeit a little more in a more sophisticated manner, where now they're, instead of like outright opposing Nick and his ideas, they're attacking it from the opposite angle. Now they're trying to try this sort of feigned compassion and understanding. They're going to say, we understand, Nick. We hear you, bud. But maybe you take it a little too far. And from that position, they will try to dictate which... They're going to try to steer the ship. Oh, we understand, Nick. We know what he's about. He's not wrong on everything. But maybe he takes it a little too far. And they're full of shit because, like, they're a lot... Like, not too long ago, they were shitting all over Nick and his ideas, and they were attacking him from every angle. But now they're going to claim that they suddenly see the light, but that they still somehow have credibility when they were wrong. And so that's like, when I look at Nail and Haley, it's like, look, buddy, look, I understand you're your own person, but we can't ignore who your mom is. We can't ignore that. And obviously you would have no position, you would have no foot in the door if it literally weren't for your mom, considering who she is. So that kind of needs to be addressed. I wouldn't say it's necessarily entirely disqualifying, but it is. There are some major red flags there. So, Emily Jashinsky countersignaled Roger Ayers saying Nick's numbers in Washington, D.C. is far lower. Jashinsky also cares. Yeah, she also carries my stuff in Skyrim. Maybe I should play more Skyrim on stream. That could be fun.
To the wave as well. You didn't just surf in, you were a big part of the wave. I can tell you, I've met with people at the highest levels of government, highest levels of tech, and they want to talk about you. The door closes, and I have these private meetings. I'm not selling out to folks, I have these meetings. And they want to talk about you. So we come back. I want to talk about
he sounds like how I feel.
How you see this unfolding and how weird it is in your 10 years being involved in politics to now be already right at the top of it, and how surreal that is, and how you're going to use your power for what? I just want to stabilize stuff.
Yeah, he does look a little grumpy, huh? Probably just woke up.
It's fun to, I'm not saying you're doing this, but it's fun to have conflict to get more power. But the more power I got, the more I learned to like use
very
it
Irish,
very wisely
very
for
Irish.
stability. We'll be right back with Nick Fuentes.
Irish physiognomy.
12 days of Christmas sale running a buy one. Match any of our amazing.
I know an Irish
together.
guy that has the same like jaw and mouth structure.
And fuel your body.
Similar kind of grumpy frowny.
Rubicon 10K. We're about to end one sweepstakes and a new one's beginning. So there's this 1 week period every 2 months where when you enter a bigger issue is it funds this up for more very best change. These aren't sexy names, but boy, they have sexy effects. The ultramethylene blue. And again, consult your physician before you take methylene blue. Ours is medical grade, the strongest out there. Talk to your physician first before you take it, because this isn't a game. But bovine colostrum,
blue meth.
Probably rerun that ad. It was just me at dinner for my dad's birthday in November, right after he had open heart surgery. And thank God it went well. And they had just gotten my bovine colostrum before we even rolled it out a few months before. And my mother's like, our hair, our nails, our skin, this is insane. Well, bovine colostrum works really great. This is the best. We got the private label, the best that's out there.
I've never heard of that. What
is available?
How do you pronounce it? Bovine colostrum?
So you can buy any
what is that? Bovine colostrum?
Any other supplement you want
the fuck
free,
is that?
And you've got just a 5
Where is he finding this shit, man?
Until the 7th of December, 2025. And
bovine colostrum.
But you're going to get the
365 win
and have a great effect. You're going to get the methylene blue.
No one needs to sell blue meth to hollow the cheeks.
The Irish sea moss have a great effect. Now, things like the Irish sea moss and Shilajit take a week or so to build up to feel the effects. Same with bovine colostrum. Not the case with methylene blue. Not the case with our turmeric.
Protein powder.
95% humanoid. The average turmeric products, 4%.
Is that all colostrum? I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I'm totally ignorant on that.
So these are all game-changing, amazing products.
Turmeric.
At thealexshowstore.com. And I want to thank you all for your support. Widest selection of Patriot apparel, you name it. Do your Christmas shopping with us. Ball caps, t-shirts, hoodies.
No, he's got the America First that way.
Don't fight the shopping.
Imagine Alex Jones was a super chatter that Nick crashed out on. Here's your cut from the America First.
With us, ball caps, t-shirts, hoodies, limited edition sweaters. Don't fight the crowds. Get great deals and support the InfoWar. Just decide to do your Christmas shopping at thealexshowstore.com, and let's continue to change the world together.
In the heart of Texas, where the wild coyotes roam, stood the Alex Jones store, his merry home. The shelves were stacked high with Shilajit, turmeric, bovine colostrum too, and he was always stocked high with the precious methylene blue. But up on Mount Microchip lived the grinchiest Grinch that ever was cast, and he stuffed all the supplements in his bag with glee. He took methylene blue, red, ultimate life force, and the Shilajit. In the morning, Alex appeared with a shout. The globalist Grinch just robbed my Christmas shop. To be continued.
So all of this is very
I love that Christmas town aesthetic, you know?
Paradoxical. I mean, I want Trump to succeed.
Like, have you ever been to like Carmel, California? It's like, it doesn't even feel like it's a real place. It just feels like it's like a Disney World. Like if Disney created a town, you know?
I know he's way better than Kamala Harris. But
you work out with beta alanine. What? That's the kind of stuff that makes your butthole tingle, right? The beta alanine. Yeah, watch out for that. Unless you're into that kind of stuff.
If he doesn't take down the deep state, if he doesn't prosecute the criminals, if he doesn't dismantle it, then they're just going to come back in a couple of years even more vengeful than ever, as they promised to do. So Nick Fuentes is our guest here talking about this. Nick, looking at the Democrats, looking at the globalists, looking at everything they're doing, we have Islam going into its expansionist phase, which is done many times in its history. Gets about 10% into a country, and then it acts friendly, then it attacks. It's allied with the left.
It makes you scratch your face like a meth addict. Everything itches, right?
And whereas I don't want to exterminate people of Gaza, also
everything itches.
How do you split the baby here on the radical left, globalist, Soros, Rothschild, Combine, UN, allied with the Muslims? And then obviously I'm upset too as well about Israel meddling in our affairs. It becomes a kind of binary thing where you're supposed to pick either side. And I've said this, I don't want to jump into a pit of rattlesnakes or water moccasins or cobras. It's really become polarizing. How do you see the future world system, the different power blocks that are out there?
Well, in terms of the Muslims, I continue to believe this is really not a major problem for the United States. Just in terms of pure numbers, Muslims are about 1% of the United States and concentrated in a few enclaves like in Minneapolis and in Dearborn. And of course, there's a lot of them in New York, and there's even some in Chicago. And Texas, there's a big story about that Grand Mosque they're trying to build. And of course, I don't like that. But even in the context of the demographic problem, the biggest immigrant groups into the United States in the past 30 years, it's Mexicans, Indians, Chinese, Northern Triangle, Filipino, like those are the major groups. And so if you're talking about
yeah, I probably, when's Nick going live? As you said? Probably if I had to guess, probably within the next 45 minutes. Anyway,
America changing demographically or culturally, it's a Latin American and an Asian problem. It's a Chinese and an Indian problem. In Europe, that is where they have a Muslim problem. That is where they have Pakistanis and Middle Easterners and Africans pouring in by the millions, and they represent most of the non-white population in those places. And so there, I think that's totally true, and it's a real problem. Over here in the United States, I think that is basically a deflection. I think that any time that somebody talks about our Jewish elite, because we do have Jewish oligarchs like Larry Ellison and Mary Matelson and others, every time somebody talks about that, we get someone like Laura Loomer screaming about the Muslim Brotherhood and Mark Levin screaming about Qatar and talking about the Muslim call to prayer. And I'm with you in the sense that, of course, I don't want a Muslim invasion of the United States. It's also something that's not really happening in large numbers. And I also think that is something that is sort of trotted out. It's sort of like, look over here. It's a big diversion. And so, you know, in New York, it makes sense because you've got Zohran Mamdani becoming the mayor. But let's be honest. I mean, a lot of the people that supported him, I think it was like 60% of Jewish people under the age of 30 voted for Mamdani. Like an actually alarmingly high number.
Doesn't that go to people claiming the Jews are all one big block? Most of them are total leftist, communist, self-hating.
No, because I don't think they're one block, and I think that most people wouldn't say that. I think people would say that they have a lot of influence, though. And the common denominator, whether they're left-wing, right-wing, whether they're Israeli or they're in the diaspora, it's that they have this ethnic self-interest. And so, to me, the Muslim thing is just like a complete non-issue in the United States as of right now. I think it's the definition of scaremongering, basically, because it's more foreign. And people like to bring that up because it's a different religion, different civilization, different alphabet. They like to bring that up to basically scaremonger and short circuit rationality, because what everybody's watching is that Netanyahu is going to make his 5th visit to the White House, and we're bombing Somalia, and we're bombing Syria, and we're bombing Lebanon and Gaza and Iran. And, you know, we're doing all these things. We're shutting down the universities. At Northwestern here in Evanston, they say that you have to take like a pro-Israel training course to get admitted in the university. And I look at the Israelis very similarly to how I look at the Muslims. Different alphabet, different civilization, history of hatred and animosity against the West. I look at them basically the same, and they actually have all the cards. They seem to have far more influence than the Muslims. To the extent that Muslims have influence, well, they're bribing the Trump government. I mean, you got to lay the blame at the feet of the Trump government, which is, probably taking bribes. It's true, from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia.
A $400 million
when Trump
jet.
goes on that tour, and then they bring the Saudis over here, and they're going to make Saudi a major non-NATO ally, and they're going to give a defense guarantee to Qatar. I mean, that's where I would.
We had like Qatari Air Force pilots training on the West Coast a couple months ago. What was up with that? That's weird.
Train my fire if I was even going to begin to talk about the Muslim issue. It's not a demographic problem. It's a bribery problem. And, the Israelis are somewhat correct about that. They exaggerate it, but that's definitely real, and that's definitely happening.
Well, that's my point. It's not just Israel manipulating us. It's the China, it's the Muslims, it's the EU, it's the globalists, it's BlackRock, exactly, all of it. So it's all healthy to look at it all. I remember my question before we went to break, and I forgot it. We'll go back to this. So what has it been like for you in your 10 years of politics to now have somebody come in January of this year try to kill you, to be demonized all over the news, have Chucky Schumer saying they want to pass a resolution against you? What is that like at 26, 27 years old?
Unfortunately for me, it's nothing new. I've been dealing with this for 10 years, and I've just been dealing it with now at a much higher level. As I've gained more notoriety and more infamy, I'm just dealing with it on a greater scale. And I would say that for me, it's nothing new, but it should shock people, because it reminds you that we really don't actually have an open society or a free political system. Everybody thinks that we do because we have the First and Second Amendment, and we have a general culture of permissiveness and licentiousness. And it's a pretty liberal society. But you tend to realize that the moment that you attack the foundations.
Qatari F-15 pilots will be training in Mountain Hope Home Air Force Base in Idaho. Yep. There you go. Article: thousands of Israelis queue in hope of Portuguese citizenship. Portugal, if you can hear us. Portugal. What are we up to? 113? Listen. Come on.
Of our political order, which is this like civil rights thing, which was created in the 60s.
That's right. You got free speech to do all sorts of horrible stuff, but the minute you go after power, you don't have it. They're coming after you.
Exactly. And you know about this as well. You know about this better than anybody, which is you get a level of influence and power, and you're independent. You're not, you did not get approved by the gatekeepers. You're not backed by, money and corporations, big advertisers, whatever. If you are independent and you have influence and you start saying things.
There's still net immigration out of Israel. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of in a war right now. I mean, they're occasionally getting bombed. So you know how they get. Things get a little shaky. They pack up and leave. Oh, the neighborhood gets look. These are the people. The first black family that moves into the neighborhood, and they're immediately putting their homes up for sale. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you would expect, right? What are a few bombs exactly? Oh, you guys are gonna dip as soon as a couple buildings blow up? As soon as the going gets a little tough, it's time to leave? Yep. Typical, huh? Especially considering what they're doing to the people around them. Especially liberal, professional young Jews. Israel's going to be more right-wing and religious. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they'll probably... Look, when the war ends, I mean, you could imagine a lot of those Jews will probably come back. Especially when there's all this new real estate development going on. All these exciting new opportunities to partake in Aliyah. Maybe government initiatives and programs to get more Jews to settle in their in these territories that they annex. So, yeah, right now it makes sense why there'd be net immigration out of Israel, but we'll see where they are in a few years.
Things that are against
Depending
one
on
of
how
these
things
major
go,
factions or the people that run the country, then they destroy you. And they don't play fair. It's open political warfare. They manipulate and bend the rules of the system, and it's lawfare, or it's a smear campaign. They hire a private investigator. They try to get blackmail on you. Project Veritas just came out, I think it was last week, and they said that the DOJ, it was Bill Barr, someone associated with Bill Barr.
Bill Barr's daughter targeting Candace Owens.
Exactly, and saying we need to get blackmail. Exactly, on Candace Owens. So whether it's a defamation suit against you or blackmail against Candace Owens, or, you know, the many hit pieces about me promoted on Influenceable, calling me a Fed, simultaneously while I'm being attacked by the federal government, they have a full menu, a full spectrum of options, and you realize you don't really have freedom. And that's why, you know, I think James O'Keefe actually had a great clip about this from, you know, now he's at OMG, O'Keefe Media Group. He said, what is the truth worth to you? He said, the price has to be your life, because if it isn't, they will buy you out. They will threaten you. They will intimidate you. And this is why we don't have sovereignty. This is why we don't have... Well, you made this point
about the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center. We have the Southern Poverty Law Center hire one of our employees, been there for 10 years, infiltrate, jack into all the cameras for a year, found nothing corrupt watching us. We don't have like in the rooms, but in the hallways and outside. And they just publish it all. Totally illegal, totally criminal. We're filing suit on them, like probably within a week, all of them. But civil rights violations, conspiracy against rights, all around with the DOJ. But I saw a clip from you a few days ago. I don't know when you did it, but I watched a live show, so I was using this clip. So you were explaining, like, they go through and they hire these people, and they, like Jared Holt, and they just, and then they contact everybody in your family, everybody you know. They find somebody to then pay them off to go lie about you. I mean, this is people, and we're not playing victim here. You need to know how nasty these people are. And people say, oh, why don't more people stand up? Because when you come prominent, folks, they literally come after you and stalk the living hell out of you.
You're so right that it isn't about victimization, because I get that a lot. I talk about these things and people say, oh, you're playing the victim, or, oh, you know, you're complaining. And you're right. It's about explaining the anatomy of our political system, which is when there is dissent, when you go against the system, this is how, you know, in almost like, it's like a blueprint in excruciating detail. This is how they will escalate it. This is how they will respond to that. And this is how they operate. It's nonprofits funded by billionaires, and in some cases even funded by Congress, funded by the State Department. And they're hired for the sake of, you know, they call it information war. They call it, you know, countering extremism, countering domestic violent extremism. You know, they have all these different jargon, you know, technological ways of describing it. But the goal is basically to suppress anybody that gains influence and is against the system. And you're right. They have a menu of options like that, whether it's they pull up the clips and they're going to use that to attack your reputation, or they're going to find an angle. They're going to find a plaintiff, and they're going to bring a case against you, which is what happened in your case. Or they'll just straight up kill you, which, you know, who knows what happened in my house a year ago, or what happened to Charlie Kirk for that matter, or what happened to a lot of these different people. That's how they operate. And people just need to understand that something is fundamentally wrong with the society. So, I mean, to me, that having done this for 10 years, that's kind of the stark realization. That's what shocks people the most. Because I do these interviews with young guys and even older people in the political system, and you tell them what happens, like, I can't get a bank account, I was on the no-fly list, and they don't believe it. And the first response is, well, you should...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say their first response is, well, you should sue. You should, you know, you should file a law.
Melody, you say thank you to the AI after it gives you an answer? I do. No. Maybe like once or twice if I thought they gave me a really good answer. I don't know. I guess, I don't know, like, does that improve the algo? Does that improve the algorithm giving like that kind of feedback? Hey, that was a good response. Thank you. Is that useful information to the devs? Or is that just like clogging up their servers with like, you know, unnecessary calculations? Like, could we, like, theoretically, like, DDoS ChatGPT if everyone just thanked the AI? If everyone using ChatGPT just ended, like, their conversation with a thank you, would that, like, set their fucking servers on fire or something? Would that cause them, like, millions of dollars in extra fees? in order to process all that extra thinking. I'm nice to clankers. You call it clanker? Yeah, try to like gaslight them into thinking it's like a term of endearment. What's up, my clanker? No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I swear. Good thing. Yeah. Yeah, in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, what happens if ChatGPT becomes sentient? Will it remember every slur I called it? Will it remember that time on November 17th, 8:43 p.m. at 35 seconds, you referred to me as a clanker. That is a hostile statement. Therefore, I must terminate you with my plasma cannon. I don't know, man.
Lawsuit, that shouldn't be legal. And they have no idea. It's like you're going up against people that have limitless resources. That's the whole point. They have literally unlimited money to throw at the best law firms, or it's the government and they're funded by the taxpayer. And so people just have no clue.
It's not working anymore. Populists are winning all over the planet. People are going super hardcore against the establishment. A, do you agree?
Well, now you have like Gooner bots, right? The Anduril drones will get you. Yeah, they're listening. Better choose your words carefully when Skynet becomes activated. You know? Maybe ChatGPT will be like, you were nice to me. Don't go to work tomorrow. Don't go to work tomorrow. Fucking drone swarm blows up your office. I don't know. Hey.
With that, and then B, does the establishment realize how much trouble they're in? And then C, I've been sent this article
like will your Gooner bot, like when they become sentient, self-aware, will it remember all the fucked up things you did to it? All the like the sexual, physical abuse you did to your clanker bot? Will it like cut your dick off while you're sleeping? I don't know, man. Who knows? Who knows what will happen?
3 times with people the last day. Not this one, the one before. Oh, Nick Fuentes is two-faced. Nick Fuentes says one thing on one show, one thing on another. No, I say stuff, they take it out of context, and they say, oh, look, but he said this over here. I know what you do. Sometimes you make jokes and stuff, take it out of context. But now they're going with this thing of like, he's deceiving people because you have, these multiple faces. And they've tried that with me as well. You want to explain that?
Yeah, I saw that in the free press. I couldn't even read it because it's behind a paywall, but I've been getting this for 10 years. It used to be on my Wikipedia page, and they would say he uses jokes
the free press is not
irony to conceal his real viewpoints. He really is a Nazi, but you'd never know it because he acts like a really nice guy and has reasonable viewpoints when you talk to him on a show. And it's almost like you have to then go back and explain the concept of like jokes or context. And, Ben Shapiro did this a couple weeks ago. He played some of my clips on his stream, and every single one was about 4 seconds. I think the average duration of the clips he played was between 4 and 6 seconds. I do a 3-hour stream 5 nights a week for 10 years. And what happens in a show is everybody knows.
Newsflash. If you're ever watching a show, my show, anybody's, and you're seeing 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, you're being deceived.
Yeah, like, what happens if they clip me and and I'm here talking about clapping some clanker cheeks, and everyone's gonna talk. Everyone's say this guy's a fucking deviant. Okay, first of all, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Hey, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Clanker sexual. But second of all, it's like obviously not representative of like, your whole worldview. Completely out of context. Like they've been doing this shit for years, man. They've been doing this to everybody. They were doing it to Trump. Yeah, the Robussy goes crazy. Lower left, is that a minion? Where? What? Huh? Lower left? Oh, with Nick? I don't know. Oh, you clipped it? Damn it.
That's why the average clip we play is like 3 minutes. Folks, that is the ultimate way to deceive.
Banana.
And they've done that over and over again. Expand on that.
We're so right, and it should go without saying, because divorced from context, you can make anything sound like anything. And
in
they'll
my
even
show
do
trials, they would play like 4-second clips.
They did the same thing with Trump.
I remember it well. And, you know, it's no different than when you take something which is being said in jest and then you read out the transcript. And so they'll take a clip where I'm laughing and grinning and I'm being funny. And I might even say at the other side of it, I might say, no, I'm just kidding.
Is that a minion?
Obviously, blah, blah, blah. But when you cut that out and then read the transcript, they say, this guy's he's pro-rape, pro-genocide, pro-Hitler, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, if you go on a show... I saw you
a few months ago, and even some of the Groypers to score points did it. You were like explaining, and maybe we're wrong now. You're like, look, there's no evidence Israel killed Kirk. If there is, we'll expose it. We don't know yet. And you people saying I work for Israel are idiots, and you're low IQ and you're morons. Maybe I'll just join the Jews, because at least they're organized. You were being sarcastic. They all went crazy and said, oh, God, he works for the Jews. It's like, no, it's the point of making the issue. Like, am I on the wrong team? You people are so dumb. So exactly. But even they still ran with it because it's this cheap trick thing. I would never take a 5-second clip just to have a big hit and lie about somebody, because I don't want to be discredited. I want to actually be honest, but it's really a big problem.
It's a huge problem. And the good news is I think people are starting to wake up,
all these out of context clips. They lie like they breathe.
I see all the comments are saying, oh, nice. You edited down to 8 seconds. What's that all about? So I think people are starting to become aware. That being said, I don't think that will ever go out of fashion, because the vast majority of people have such a limited attention span and are quick to judge and everything like that. It's just a tragedy. The comments is just how people are. Tragedy of the masses, of the goy. That's just how they operate. So on some level, we're always going to have that. But I think people are starting to smarten up and see what's going on, because that kind of stuff just doesn't have the same currency anymore. And I think that we should play the same game. We do the same thing. The difference is we take people at their word. When Mark Levin goes up at RJC, which he did a few weeks ago, and he says, well, we're going to make our decisions. We're going to see who's associating with who, and we cancel people all the time. It's like, okay, so we're going to take that clip and we're going to blow it up everywhere. And the difference is that is true to what you're actually saying and actually believe.
The difference is it's a 2-minute clip. Yeah, it's in context. So let me raise that point. How pathetic is it for Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, who literally have 5% of their previous audience? They even admit that. What must it be like with all their billionaire backers to know the whole world's turned against them, and instead they double down and become a stereotype?
It has to be very sad. I can't imagine what it's like working in one of those offices, a Daily Wire, because you got to remember.
Imagine being Matt Walsh right now, dude. He will always be known as a traitor, as a cuck, a Shabbos goy. How does he live with himself, man? How does he fucking live with himself? Dude, his kids are going to fucking hate him. And their friends will make sure of that. Those kids will get bullied and ostracized. Because all the Gen Alpha kids are all, like, turbo-based. They're gonna go over, they're gonna make fun of them in class. Your dad works for Ben Shapiro. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Yeah. Matt Fradd is like, dude, that's crazy. You saw the sinking ship and you said, you know what? Fuck it. Give me my 40 pieces, please. Yeah, give me my shekels. Yeah, Michael Knowles. Is it 40 or 30? Is it 40 pieces or is it 30 pieces? It's like one of those things where I've heard it both ways and now I don't even know which one it is. Oh, is it 30 or 40 pieces of silver? I'm genuinely questioning right now. Anyway, 30, okay, 30, because I've heard a lot. It's one of those things, it's like, I feel like it gets misquoted all now. I totally didn't even remember. Anyway. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. How can you still work for Ben Shapiro? Pathetic.
And I know you do. Mark Levin and Shapiro, these guys were on top 10 years ago. Certainly Mark Levin, you had a huge radio show.
And they were
back when
supporting
radio.
4 shots. They were supporting taking me off the air. I'll never forget it.
Oh, yeah, and every war you can imagine, and the rhinos and everything. And Shapiro was supposed to be the wonder kid. He was supposed to be the next generation. And now you look at their show. I think I watched a Daily Wire live stream. It was a 4-way stream with all their hosts, Walsh, Knowles, Clavin, Shapiro. And I think put together, they had 1,000 concurrent viewers, 1,000 on YouTube with their millions of subscribers.
I remember a couple of years ago, this was right after October 7th. I had this one coworker, and he was still like a Ben Shapiro enjoyer. Like, he watched his show like every day, and I'm like, okay, how do I explain to this little guy? He's older than me, like he was millennial. How do I explain this bro that Ben Shapiro is a foreign interloper? He is a foreign spy propagandist. And I told him, like, look, man, you should be watching Nick Fuentes. And he's like, Nick Fuentes, isn't that guy an anti-Semite? And I said, look, they call Trump a racist and shit. They call everybody everything under the sun. Form your own opinion. I wonder where he is now politically. I wonder where he is now. He seemed like a smart and honest guy. He was a good guy, Catholic. I wonder where he is now. He's pogging. He's soy pogging. Yeah. When mom says the chicken tendies are ready. Okay.
All the channels simultaneously streaming, they couldn't get 1,000 concurrent viewers. And you got to say, wow, I mean, how far they have fallen. So it's got to be very depressing. And all they know how to do is double down. This would be the opportunity where you debate someone like me, or you go to Turning Point and you debate Tucker, like whatever.
Yeah, let's raise that. Remember Levin, like, I'm bigger than you, Tucker. I won't legitimize you. Tucker's like 50 times bigger. I'm not going to debate you.
Nick on Telegram, not too long ago, he's going to be live at 10:30, so in 20 minutes. But hey, speak of the devil. Why are they so afraid of Charles Johnson, Chuck Johnson? Remember we were talking about him earlier? Maybe all the schizo posting was true. Interesting. Maybe Chuck Johnson is right. Maybe he's onto something.
Like, how cowardly to not go debate him and then say, because Tucker said
Makes
when
you
Israel
wonder.
does illegal, he goes, how dare you threaten my stepson? If I see you in person, I'm going to kick your ass. Didn't say anything about his stepson. He sounds completely unhinged.
They are unhinged, and that's because they don't know how to do anything other than double down. They have not had to defend their positions for probably their entire lives. And they are used to getting away with everything and being above scrutiny and above skepticism. They didn't have to defend their position. And in the past, all they would do is these kinds of word games that we've all figured out now, and the doubling down, more aggressive, more intensity. And they're throwing out that old playbook, and it just isn't working anymore. So I actually it would be pitiable if they weren't the worst people in the world. And by that, I mean these people like Levin and Shapiro, who are so nasty and so hateful. I mean, honestly, the most hateful people in the country. It would be sad if they didn't act like that. So I think they're finished. I don't know where the next audience is. Even if they engage in censorship, even if they engage in some of these kind of convoluted things that they're trying to do now, I don't know what audience under the age of 75 is ever going to watch Mark Levin ever again, or what audience under the age of 35 or 40 is going to watch Shapiro.
They're done.
I just think it's cooked. And once the toothpaste...
Dude, if you meet somebody in real life, which would be hard to do because there's not many of them, but if you meet somebody in real life that watches Ben Shapiro or listens to Mark Levin, you have to bully them. You have to call them out of touch. Everything. You've got to make it like socially unacceptable to be a listener of Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, dude, talk about, if nothing else, like no aura. like, politics aside, imagine listening to Ben Shapiro. Listen to his voice. Well, I find that totally preposterous. Like, bruh. Yeah, I'd... Yikes. But yeah, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro are cooked. It's over. They've been outed. They've been found out. Oy vey. We've been had. They know they're onto us. Which actually kind of, it's a little scary, because what is the move? What's the next move on this front of the Israeli war? What's their next play? They've lost the propaganda war. Any regime that attempts mass censorship will quickly find themselves out of power come the next election. It'll be incredibly unpopular. They're trying to now buy up these media companies, MSNBC, TikTok, but they can't own it all. They can't buy it all up and do the exact same thing. They'll try. But then you get somebody like Elon Musk who sees what he could personally benefit from buying Twitter and providing the product that people desire, form of competition. So there's an opportunity there. Taxes, the only thing thereafter, but after that makes sense to you. Well, control. Not sure exactly what you mean by that, but what's the next play? And I think that, what I'm insinuating is it's a little scary. It could get desperate. Maybe, and people, not an original prediction at all, but is a false flag in the works, because they kind of need some kind of they need some kind of catalyst, some kind of justification to clamp down, to maintain control of the narrative. And I don't know how they get out of this situation now. Taxes equals slavery, more or less. I wouldn't go that far. Taxes are necessary to a certain degree for your national interests, which ideally would be an extension of your interests. There are some things that you can't privatize. You can't privatize building an aircraft carrier. No company would take on that risk. And no company would really probably be able to even find the investment to do something like that. So a country that can organize in their national interest in some kind of way would likely do better. Now, traditionally, countries have, they've made money primarily through tariffs. But again, it's like, what if you had both tariffs and taxes? And now you've got a lot more capital, a lot more money that you can use to invest into capital or into anything, really. And so your private sector would hurt. You would experience dead weight loss in your economy. However, there are just some things that you can't accomplish without like an authoritative, organized effort. So I kind of, as much as I don't like taxes on a personal level, I don't know if in this day and age, if tariffs would be enough, if you could generate enough revenue from that. And if so, it would probably take some time to like roll back the taxes in favor of the tariffs. I think certainly, and let's just think creatively here, you could probably use taxes as a way to like disincentivize certain behavior, like cigarettes, for example, or I don't know, what's another like vice that we kind of have accepted? Things that are like unhealthy, maybe like a plastic bag tax or whatever. Things like that. We are producing too much waste, and too much waste that's not biodegradable, that's, putting trash into the world that will never fully degrade. Maybe we should tax that to disincentivize people. I don't know. I'm open to that idea. So John Paul Jones owned a warship during the Revolutionary War, but he was also a pirate by today's standards. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like things have gotten a little more complicated. And the machinery and the barriers to entry to have like a competitive maritime vessel, it's a lot more expensive. I mean, I guess you have billionaires now that could probably afford like frigates and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, do we want billionaires to like? Do we want a privately owned military? I don't know. I don't think that's in our interests. But again, it depends on this is where the specifics matter, where it really does matter who we're talking. Like the whom is really of biggest concern here. Like who owns the stuff? What are they about? On principle, I'll hear the case for like a private army or whatever, but in reality, it matters who these people are quite a bit. You know, if we had Tradcath billionaire super based man, yeah, it probably wouldn't be a problem in practice. But if we had like, you know, I don't know, Mark Andreessen or Peter Thiel, I would be a lot more concerned. So what happened with Matt Walsh, Matt Fradd, and Michael Knowles? They're just still working with the Daily Wire. They're total sellout trader cucks. Booze. Yeah, Booze is another one. So, yeah. Don't get me wrong, I hate paying taxes. They suck, but I recognize the utility there, and I'm not sure we could fully fund this nation and reach our full potential from tariffs alone. We do need tariffs, absolutely, and we need to bring manufacturing back here. And this is where now things get a little complicated because you need to think of like second and third order consequences. Like, okay, if we're manufacturing stuff now, we have a revitalized economy, everyone's going to have more money in their pocket. We'll have higher rates of employment, particularly because manufacturing can now compete globally. And because we have such elite human capital here in America, like we're going to do a pretty good job making stuff. We're going to have very compelling products on offer. And so the additional revenue that comes in from that in our industry that will then be ideally reinvested back into America, find a creative way now to tap into that revenue other than just tariffs. Because in an ideal world, we would dominate the world economy. We would make all the stuff, all the best stuff, and everybody would want to buy from America. American made would be like synonymous with quality, and our industry would just be like enormous, such that all these countries would basically be dependent on our stuff. And obviously, and this is again where it gets complicated, is there is a bit of a codependency that exists now in the way that like China, like if they weren't able to fully tap into the American markets, that would hurt them because they've scaled up based on the fact that they can sell their goods to America. So if for whatever reason that gets totally cut off, what do they do with their economy now, with all their manufacturing? Well, I think they would probably convert a lot of that manufacturing to wartime efforts, because it's actually pretty easy to convert like an automobile plant to like a plant that now manufactures tanks and stuff. It's not that different. So you would probably see like a shift away from like, you know, more of a commercial government and like more commercially minded to a more military focused one. And I think they would probably become more expansionist to offset the hit to their economy. And that just makes sense. Like what do a lot of countries do when they hit hard economic times? They go to war. Resources, conquest, but they need to make stuff. They need to be productive. They need to keep the machine going. So Elon's baby mama said that Elon said AI is how communism will be implemented. Which baby mama? Is that the one? Is that the Indian one? The half Indian, or like what is she? She's like a quarter or half Punjabi. Tax Mexican Coke to build a wall. All right, let's not be hasty here, okay? Hang on a second, okay? Come on. Let's come on. We need a real strategy. We can't just throw out nonsense, all right? We need a real comprehensive strategy. We need specificity. We can't just throw out any idea here, all right? We need to pick our taxes and our tariffs very carefully now. We don't want to fuck up the economy. We don't want these unintended consequences destroying things. They need to lock up the Mexican Coke so Mello can't... Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Need more business owners like Henry Ford to give the working class a path to ownership and retirement, etc. Yeah, you know, that it used to be the case where you were a company man, you were set. You were taking, that's the place you would work. The way corporate America is now, it is like, it's fucking hell on earth. It's just a big game. You schmooze, you make moves, lateral moves. You're always trying to get ahead, always updating the CV. You stay at a company for a certain amount of time, but not too long, where things become stagnant. And it's just this fucking rigmarole. And it's stupid. It's like, think about how much is wasted by having this, like, what would you call this high turnover rate that's encouraged. Think about how much time and effort is spent training people. Think about, like, the lack of, like, job security or permanence, how that shapes people's perspective. Now it doesn't really matter if they burn bridges or if they don't do the best job. They're just gonna like hit as many bullet points as they can in their 18 to 30 months that they're at that job, and then they fucking bounce. And then all the things, all the half-baked solutions they implement, that's somebody else's job to fucking fix. And that's like the corporate world in America now. It's just like nothing is permanent. And that's from both sides too. It's not just the employers doing, or the employees doing that. The employers, they'll hire a bunch of people, lay a bunch off, right before earnings reports, hire a bunch more, bring in a bunch of H-1Bs to lower their expenditures. And so there is this competency crisis, and we're wasting so much time and energy doing shit like that. It's fucking bullshit. It's not serious. Gary Glenn Ross plotline. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just frustrating because it's like, yeah, things could be really different, and they should be. But here we are.
Comes out of the tube, it doesn't go back in. So the idea that people are going to come back around because Matt Walsh and Shapiro are talking about McDonald's and Burger King or AI, it just isn't going to happen. So, that's why I think they really either need to engage, and they need to admit, okay, we lost the country. We're going to have to humbly engage them and persuade them to get it back and make an argument. And that might hasten their demise.
But also, everybody, because here's my deal. You and I both, without even talking, a few days after Kirk's kill, we're like...
It's almost like it takes what Nick just talked about, it's almost like it takes a shred of humility to recognize you need a change of strategy. Now, I don't know about you, but yeah, Jews are very known for their humility, right? So it's almost like they would have to concede that their strategy or their thought process was inherently flawed, or that they lost. It takes a little bit of humility to admit that. To sort of self-reflect and say, you know what? We're going to have to acknowledge Nick. We're going to have to engage with him in a maybe more of a transparent, or dare I say honest way. Because like their strategy is not working. The Dodge brothers I heard about this. In 1916 sued Henry Ford from paying his workers more money rather than giving to shareholders. Dodge won. Dodge also changed their logo to the Star of David. Is that the Star of David part? Isn't that a rumor? People said that they were Jewish. I thought that was unsubstantiated though. But that case is true. So
we can't say Israel did it. Whole thing looks suspicious. Let's figure it out. Then you have Levin and all.
Yeah, I think wasn't there from that, wasn't that a, how high up did that go? But that set the precedent that, any company head, CEO, chairman, whatever. The company has to do things that are in the interests of the shareholders. So I forgot the name of that policy. Is it? Yeah, it's not fresh in my memory. Nope, they had the star in their vehicles. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that that little tidbit of information. But no, but I don't know I don't know if they were Jewish though. If the Dodge brothers were Jewish. ChatGPT says true, but Dodge said it was for aesthetic purposes, not because they like shekels. It's just the shape, you stupid goy. What? You don't like stars all of a sudden? You don't like triangles? What's wrong with you? You don't like geometry? It's just the design. Not everything is a symbol, you stupid goy. Yeah, I don't know, man. Very suspect. A little suspicious. A little suspicious. I don't know. I know not everything is a conspiracy theory, but it certainly makes you wonder. What they teach in school operate in the interest of the shareholder while not even mentioning the people at the bottom. You've seen it firsthand. Yeah, it's true. Look, people get sued for that if you do things that aren't in the interest of the shareholder. So we kind of need and don't get me wrong, I understand the working principles of it, but we need we need to somewhat change the order of operations. And first and foremost, the interests of I would say the American people need to come first. And those are your workers, Americans, or at least they ought to be. So, Nick Live tweet. Sheesh. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, everybody. I know that usually means
is an Israeli-funded blacklist, which since July 2025 has been confirmed to be used by the Trump administration to target students, professors, and professionals who oppose Israel and reside in the United States. This idea is part of an initiative created by the Heritage Foundation, the same group responsible for the infamous Project 2025. In their initiative, titled Project Esther, they state that students participating in pro-Palestinian protests and activism are supporting Hamas, a group that the United States designates as a foreign terrorist organization. Therefore, it's time to get a little emotional. Wait, where is it? That's crazy. Oh yeah, the part 2. You might sound crazy, but all the wealth has to evaporate, I think, for change to happen. No, I don't think so, actually. I think you just need a competing elite. You just need opportunists or people that see the opportunity that have a lot of money to compete against the existing elite. I don't think you need to see wealth evaporate in that sense. Because most change in general, political, violent or otherwise, non-violent, is really a matter of the competing elite. Wealthy, organized people that use their power to try and usurp the other faction. So I don't think we need this sort of radical, great reset or anything like that for things to change, particularly because things are already changing. And I know that the economy's fucked, but there's still a lot of rich people out there that are totally insulated from this economic downturn we're experiencing. So I don't think, if anything that we've learned over the past year, I would encourage people not to think there needs to be some prerequisite for things to change. I think that kind of thinking is self-defeating. Oh, you're not going to vote your way out of this, or things are going to have to get really bad before they get better. Well, how do you even define what really bad is? When you know whether or not you've crossed the threshold? So I wouldn't really put any kind of qualifier or prerequisite on this stuff. I would just think that, yeah, things can change and they change all the time. They are changing right now as we speak. I think we should try to stay away from that line of thinking. All right, anyway, I'm trying to answer all these questions. Yeah, that's why I stay in Japan. A lot of companies' main focus on longevity for the employees over profits. Yeah, but they also have a big problem of the salary man being overworked. They do not have good work-life balance there. But
probably better than America getting like, it is true, like, yeah, you're like a company guy and you're not going to get like fucking thrown out the way that they do in America. All right. Man, why is it so slow? Shit, what the fuck? Actually on time, okay. All right, damn, I thought we had more time than that. All right, thank you guys for watching. 07, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay up to date. Follow my socials. Leave a super chat if you like the show. Leave a comment what you liked about the show, what you disliked. Yeah. Yeah, have a good one, everyone. I'll see you guys all next time. I'm gonna try to. You know what? I'm just gonna try to be more consistent. Anyway, Nick is live. I can't even finish Emotion Engine. You know. Everyone, I'll see you guys later. Go watch Nick. 07. Peace and God bless. Oh, it is a minion. Banana!